What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Weeb Seen It podcast. My name is Cam,
And I'm Jimmy.
and welcome to the very first episode. So this is the very first time we're recording this.
Yeah.
Bear with us if it's a little bit rough. It's not my first podcast, but it's definitely our first time doing this, especially with the two of us. We've recorded before with some stuff, but it wasn't anime based, and that was one of the big things that we wanted to do.
Yeah, it was definitely a little bit different. I did guest spot on the other podcast once concerning this.
And it wasn't for an anime. Wait, no, it was for an anime episode.
It was specifically for anime.
I remember because it had my favorite thumbnail of all time.
Yeah, I know. I still get shit over that.
We might need to bring that one back in at some point.
Yeah, just bring it up on screen like right here. And just...
But one of the main reasons we wanted to do this podcast was, I don't know about you anyways, but I think back to like high school days or even like elementary school days of, watching the newest episode of like Naruto or Fullmetal Alchemist or One Piece were like my big ones back then, and being like, oh, I really want to talk with this about someone. And I had my one friend that I could, but anime wasn't, cool back then.
Yeah.
It's hitting like this kind of like comic books for the past like 10 years. It's kind of hitting this big thing right now where it's cool again.
Yeah.
Like it's like now people are bragging about how they watch anime to sound cooler.
Even cool isn't the right word. It's almost socially accepted now as opposed to something you kind of did in the basement.
I would put it one past that because like, yes, it's socially acceptable now. But there's also like, it's like the thing with, like a little while ago, girls would all come out and say like they're gamers, even though they only played Call of Duty. There's so many people now who are like, yo, I'm a huge anime fan. And then it's like they only see Dragon Ball Z or, they watch like Pokemon or something along those lines. But it's kind of cool to say that you like anime. Everyone's like, ooh, that's like, what a niche little thing to like.
Yeah.
And then there's us cool kids, us weebs.
Oh, God, we're hipsters now, aren't we?
We've gotten to that age now where everything that's cool now was cool at some point when we were younger. So we like to be like, we've already been there, done that.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, the main point of this podcast is to talk about weekly serialized anime. So every single week when a new episode comes out, we're going to kind of keep notes, and then we're going to come in here and we're going to discuss it episode by episode. There's going to be some big ones. Obviously, when stuff like Attack on Titan starts, that's a huge one.
Yeah.
I'm assuming like Shield Hero comes out at some point.
Yeah, I think that's next year, but it is going to be a big one when it drops.
That'll be a big one. And then there's going to be small episodes too. Like, we have a few episodes. I think we have 5 to go over today. Some are big, some are kind of small. Like, obviously not every single episode is action-packed of anime. It's not like a Game of Thrones or something like that where there's like huge plot every single time.
Yeah, sometimes you just need that one episode to kind of relax everything and bring the stakes back down.
And that's one of the things I think anime does really well is sometimes my favorite parts, like for something like One Piece, for instance, was after they'd finished like a 100-episode arc, there would be like a 10 or 15, I guess only like an episode, maybe like 3 sometimes, just like a relaxation arc. Like no stakes, everything's light, they're just on the ship. You get a little bit of character progression, stuff like that. Or my favorite would be when you'd see like Luffy's new bounty come in. That happened like 5 times probably in 800 episodes, and they were always my favorite episodes.
Yeah,
because I like when my characters are acknowledged. I like when it's finally. That's why I like time skip so much, because you get to see people power up.
Yeah, nice big character development without having to watch the montage.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the main reason to do it. I'm assuming yours is like the same thing. You kind of want to just like discuss it.
Yeah, definitely. It's always been something I've kind of had to step back from and had to keep my mouth shut because there weren't a lot of people around me that talked about it. And now it's a little bit more acceptable, but I still haven't really had a chance to talk to anyone about it. So
yeah, I mean, we discuss anime too, and like we have a few other friends who are big anime fans, but like someone like our friend Mike, for instance, he's one of those guys who always has to read it first. Yeah. So there's so much anime, or I'm like, yo, Mike, have you seen this yet? And he's like, no, I have. After my next 20, backlog on mangas, then I finish that, then I'll read it, then I'll be able to watch it.
Yeah, but even then, there's people that just want to watch it all in one sitting, right? Or one big block, so they don't watch it until the season's over, and it's like, that's cool, but I want to talk about it while it's coming out.
Yeah, that's why stuff like the Netflix animes are popular these days, because a lot of times they just come out in one big chunk, and people like that. People like to binge it. I'm somewhere right in the middle. I love binging a series, but then I'm sad that it's over so fast. Yeah. So I also really like stuff like Crunchyroll or Funimation, where you're getting every single. You're like, hey, it's a Tuesday today. Tuesday might not be a special day, but you know what? Hey, on Tuesday I got this. Yeah. Or today, for instance, today's a Wednesday. We woke up and I was like, yeah, I don't have much to do today. I was like, oh wait, but I have an episode of ReZero. I have an episode of
Deca-Dence
I forgot about Deca-Dence. Ahira Sora, like the basketball anime.
Yeah, it comes out. There's also GBA today. I know you don't give a shit about.
I don't know. It's not for me.
Oh, it's horrible, but it's so good.
But yeah, so the ones we're going to be talking about today, we're going to go through. We're going to start with Thursday of last week,
Okay.
and then we're going to go right to Wednesday this morning. And this is hopefully going to be released today or early tomorrow, so everything's still relevant. We're going to start Thursday. I don't know if there's even anything specifically both of us watch on Thursday.
What drop wasn't Misfit of Demon Academy Thursdays?
No, that one's a Saturday.
Oh, right.
To preference this, we're only going to talk about 5 anime today. We watch a lot more than 5 animes.
Yeah.
We both have ones on our list that either the other person hasn't caught up but yet or isn't watching. Like for me, for instance, on Thursday I have Snafu, which is one of them.
Yeah, I'm still rewatching the first season so I can get the proper
So like
context,
I'm currently not caught up on Uzaki-chan, which is a big one. The world likes talking about Uzaki-chan right now. I'm going to be caught up on that in like a day, so probably by next week the Uzaki-chan episode will be added in. There's other things like Sword Art you're not quite caught up on yet.
That Rent a Girlfriend, I'm at episode behind.
At least you're a manga reader for that one though, so it's kind of okay.
I mean, yes, but I read it like last year, so I'm behind.
Listen,
on that
that's
too,
the trash you need in your life.
See, that's why I read the manga, because it's one of those things I can read a chapter and be done with it. The anime, it's a full 20 minutes of my life that I have to cringe through. It's like
That's true. I watched that one with my girlfriend though, so that's like
True.
She only ever watches like one anime every year, and that's the one this year because she normally likes something pretty trashy.
Yeah, something like that, or like it was Domestic Girlfriend before, wasn't it?
Yeah, she didn't watch that with me. Do you want to know what anime she watched before this one? And she didn't even watch it with me. She watched it by herself.
Wasn't she watching? No, just tell me.
It was King's Game. Yeah.
Man,
'Cause
I didn't get through that.
Well, she loves horror movies and shit, right? So I don't know why I put on the first episode of that, and I was like, it's not really my thing. It reminds me too much like Mirai Nikki, stuff like
true.
that. And then she continued watching it like the next like 2 days until she like finished it because I think they released it all at once, or she just didn't, or I didn't start watching it till it was already out.
Yeah, I think you got onto that one relatively late because I remember it was coming out week by week for a while.
Yeah, because I don't think she tuned in every single week to watch it. I think that it was just all out when I started watching it, and then she just finished it, and I never got past the first episode. And then she would like try and explain to me the plot. I'd be like, I don't care. I'd be like, this is not my thing. I've seen Future Diary. That's enough.
Yeah, cell phone tells you to do something, do it or die. That's all. That was the plot.
Yeah, that's basically Future Diary.
I mean, kind of, yeah.
In a way. But yeah, so if there's any anime that you're currently watching that you want us to talk about, trust me, it's probably already something that we've been looking at or something we're trying to catch up on. But if not, just like leave it in the comments down below. We love anime. We're going to watch more of it.
Yeah. Any recommendations, always appreciated.
Yeah, and then plus we're getting close to the end of the summer anime season, which means fall season starting soon. So we're going to have like a whole new list of things we'll be watching.
Oh yeah, it's going to be an interesting fall.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Typically I was like fall and winter. Like winter is my favorite, not just anime season, but like season for watching stuff. So it lines up perfect because you finally, like in the summer and you're just sitting home watching anime all day. People like, go outside, get some sun, do activities, stuff like that. And you're like, ugh. But in winter, everyone's like, no, stay at home, be warm, watch stuff. And I'm like, oh, if you insist. Yeah, I'll do that.
I'll take that bullet. Yeah.
But yeah, so we're only going to be talking about 5 today, but trust me, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be talking about a lot more. I think next week we'll also be discussing maybe which fall anime we're going to watch. So we're going to kind of go through the list and talk about whether or not we're going to see it, whether we won't, whether we've heard of it, read the manga, all that kind of stuff.
Or even if we're just going to try the first episode and see how that goes.
Yeah, I will try the first episode of every single anime that comes out. There's like a big gap with me. Like I'll try every single first episode, but that first episode has to impress me.
Yeah,
I'm never really willing to hit the second or third, and something like Uzaki-chan is one of the ones there. I actually didn't start liking it till probably like 5.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised you actually kept watching it. I think.
Well, I mainly did it for this, so we could talk about Uzaki, because like with everything going on the internet with that, and like the Twitter wars and that kind of stuff, it felt necessary. But then I ended up enjoying it anyway. So we'll have to get to that because I obviously haven't seen this week's episode because I'm still 2 or 3 behind.
I mean, it's Uzaki. There's no huge development with it.
Did she want to hang out at some point?
She did.
Okay, well, that makes sense. So here's the format, how this is going to go. On an average week, we're going to start by talking about the episodes we watched, so the weekly serialized anime. We're going to have time codes, probably somewhere in the middle, as well as like a pinned comment down in the description. And then we're going to get into probably one more broader anime topic, discussing who our favorite waifus are, maybe like plot point to where this is going, stuff like next week, for instance, talking about like which fall anime we're going to watch, just one bigger broad topic. This week we're going to go right from the intro. So just our kind of topic today is just why we're starting this podcast, how we're starting this podcast, what's going to happen to it. And then we're going to get into the weekly stuff. But every other week from that, it'll probably be starting with weekly, going into, one topic. We've
Right.
got a few lined up. We're excited for some of them. And then obviously, if you have any suggestions, let us know. And if there's anything that sounds really good, we'll probably do it because we can only think of so much.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I guess is there anything else you have to say about the podcast at all?
No, I'm just happy to be here, and we might as well get into the discussion.
Okay, so we're going to start with Thursday. I did write notes on my phone just so I could remember the exact day. So I don't think we had anything on Thursday the 3rd.
Yeah, I don't think anything lined up for us. From that
No,
one.
no. I had Snafu, and I don't know, maybe you had Digimon, or is that like a Friday thing or
That
something
one's
like
a
that?
Saturday one. But
Okay, yeah. So I had Snafu, but we're not talking about Snafu, so that one's a super
quite
secret.
yet.
I think Thursday also has Millionaire Detective,
Yeah, which I am catching up on.
which you're catching up on because that's one that I think I'm going to like discussing weekly episodes about that.
Oh yeah,
Because it's got there's sometimes mystery elements and stuff like that
Yeah.
as you get a little bit farther.
I will fully admit I didn't expect much from it. That's why I didn't pick it up initially. And then I watched the first episode and I was like, oh damn.
I
it's
don't
good.
remember where. I think it might have been. Do you know the Anime Man?
Oh yeah.
I think he might have had one of his, what he's going to be watching in this season, and it was for. I don't think it was for this season because this got delayed due to COVID stuff.
Yeah, a lot of things.
So I think it was the spring season, and that was on there, and I was like, well, that just sounds like something I'm going to love because I love characters with tons of money. I normally like crime or detective kind of shows.
I'm not gonna lie, it makes me think of your D&D character. It makes me think of Winston.
That's what I'm saying. The main character, well, I guess not the main character, but one of them in that
Yeah.
is just Winston the Rich, except for
He actually has the money.
yeah, and a detective, which is really cool. But yeah, when you catch up on that, we'll definitely be talking about Millionaire
yeah.
Detective. So the next one is on Friday the 4th, which there is an episode of anime we both watch, which is Fire Force Season 2. And that was episode 10.
Yep. It was definitely a big episode.
Yeah, so I want to start by saying that the episode before it left off with the main character. He was talking to I don't know, she doesn't have an official name yet, just like the woman in black.
Yeah.
I think is what they're called because Meg made a reference
Yeah.
to the Daniel Radcliffe movie.
Yeah, the woman in the tabernacle.
Yes, the old tabernacle. So it left off the last episode with her being like, "Hey, I can give you my blessing, so you can be faster than the speed of light, but you only get it for 1 second."
Yeah.
And then you get like 10 seconds of looking at Shinder's face, and then he just does the smile,
Yeah.
and he's like, "That's tons of time."
like,
Considering
Time
he's-
means nothing to him.
Yeah, considering he is faster than the speed of light, 1 second is however long he wants, basically, right? So this one starts off, and it starts off the exact same spot. He's got the 1 second, and I thought the episode was hype
It was.
because one of the best parts about Fire Force is just their animation when they're fighting, and all the colors and stuff as he's I can't remember the guy's name. Was it Tepe? It was
yeah. Or yeah, flaming ink. Right?
yeah, the horn
Yeah.
with he got wrecked, which I was happy about.
Okay, not the same guy we were talking about.
Okay.
I was talking about the guy who was beating the crap out of him in the episode before.
Yeah, that's the same guy, isn't it?
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I misunderstood you.
I think his name is something like that. I don't know if
Yeah.
it's Tepe or something along those lines. But yeah, I don't know. He just absolutely crushes him. When I think back to some of these anime episodes, the funniest part is I don't remember how they're 20 minutes long sometimes because I'm thinking back I had to think back today and be like, oh, what did I like from that episode of Fire Force? And I'm like, all I remember in that episode was him just rocket kicking the guy in the sky, and then there was rainbow colors and stuff like that, and then I'm like, and then the episode ended.
Yeah.
I had to dive a little deeper into that because that's not how the whole episode went.
Yeah, because you had flaming ink, Juggernaut, and I'm forgetting her, Tamaki working together to fight the demon. It's
The Lucky Ledger Girl, as she's known. Yeah,
I feel like she's not very lucky, but
I do like the one guy. What's his name? Is it Oga? The guy who has the blacksmith forge power.
yeah, okay, I was trying to remember his name. That's why I was
I think it's Oga or something close to that.
Yeah.
He's tough as nails.
oh yeah, he was beating the crap out of the guy for 2 episodes.
Yeah, and he does the best thing in anime when you're so powerful your shirt's gone. That's the dream of all of us is that you get to such a strong level your shirt just disappears.
Well, I mean, he took it off. There was a whole scene for that.
Okay, I just figured he went so OP that his shirt just blew off him, the fire
He
exploded.
took the time to take it off. Then the tattoos appeared. He's like, yeah, no, I'm gonna fuck this guy up.
Okay, yeah, he did a good job. I was happy with that. The Juggernaut guy is still a hilarious character.
He is. I'm still really confused about what he is at this point.
Yeah,
He had a hole blown in his chest, and it's just like, yeah, no, don't worry, there's nothing there. It's like,
I think we talked about this before briefly about how Fire Force Season 2, when they landed in the Chinese area, it took such a weird twist.
yeah, went off the rails.
Because then you got a talking fire mole, and you had a talking bird, and
Yeah.
it went from this show which is basically supposed to be it's just realistic, it's modern day, except for then all of a sudden something crazy happens.
Well, it's post-apocalyptic.
Yeah,
so.
it's post-apocalyptic. Obviously, they don't there is magic in a sense. You know, it is technically magic.
Yeah.
But like you don't ever think about it like that. You know, you're like, oh no, this could just happen. This is human evolution.
Yeah,
you know?
superpowers. It's
They had to get superpowers to fight, you know, whatever was going on. But yeah, I remember when they first landed there, it took such a big spin. I was like, this seems a little bit less believable now. Not that I dislike it.
You're talking about like one of the characters is literally referred to as a witch. You're talking about fire witches fighting fire demons, and you're complaining about realism. It's kind of
yeah. And as I said too, like I remember when I first started Fire Force and I heard about it, I genuinely thought it was just an anime about firefighters. Like I didn't think they were fighting like infernals or anything like that. I thought they was just like almost like a sports anime, except for about firefighting.
You know what? That's honestly the way it was marketed. That's a pretty appropriate view.
And that probably would have been pretty good too. I would have taken that, but you probably wouldn't have gotten such big shonen moments like his cool rocket kicks and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, I don't think firefighters get to do that very often.
What else? It was in the last episode where Arthur discovered that the numbers were part of pi, right? Or
episode before, he brought it up at the end of the episode before. Then at this episode is where like, well, we don't actually know that.
Yeah, I did write down here one thing that was really important, that I thought the lady looked a lot like she was a Soul Eater character. The lady in black. She very much has like the death, his like silhouette, especially like the tattered robes and stuff like that, and she has the long hood. Actually, in my phone it says a Soup Eater character, but I'm assuming I meant Soul Eater character on that.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know why she...
I can't unsee that now that you've said that. The art style is very similar.
It's very similar.
Especially with Shinra having the pointed teeth like Soul
The pointed teeth, the eyes I find are very, very close too, which is some of it.
I mean, it's by the same studio, isn't it? Isn't it Bones?
Listen, I'm the worst at knowing which studio does which.
I mean, I know what you mean. I actually had to look up who Deca-Dence was made by on my way here.
Well, at least you did that. I was like, there was two things when I was writing notes. I was like, I should write down which studios do these because I always forget, and I should write down the names of characters, which I obviously didn't because we've already been confused by 3 character names already, and we're talking about the first anime of the week.
I will fully admit I'm horrible with names. Like in real life, forget anime. Jeez.
Real life, I'm okay. Anime, obviously, the worst. We'll get to this later. Is God Highschool, just because it's Korean names instead of Japanese names.
See, I feel like I know more than like all 3 of the main characters' names without thinking about it with that one. But I feel like I'm wrong on 2 of them.
I'm probably wrong on all. I think I know one of them really good. But yeah, in the Fire Force episode, how did it end? They just left, right? They landed back in Tokyo.
There was a big revelation that the pillars are sacrifices.
Are sacrifices, basically, that like one and the blonde lady that's been like tormenting him. Yeah. That was revealed that she's the person inside Amaterasu.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty big reveal. I feel like this episode, when I think back, all I think about is his dope rocket kick on the guy. But now
that was a highlight, and everything else is kind of the bring down, which I almost feel like the pacing was off a little bit because you almost expect that at the end of the episode.
Yeah, and it was early on, and that's why it's one of those things where I'm like, when you see that in anime now, you're so used to then like that being the end. Like then they start like rolling the ending song. Instead, then they still had the episode left.
I don't even think it was the ending. I think it was like the midpoint of the show.
Yeah, I mean like, because like the last one ended with him having 1 second. It started with him being like, okay, here it goes.
Yeah, but the opening of the episode I think was actually inside the tabernacle with them discussing the sacrifices and all that while he was having that conversation. And I'm saying, yeah, I can do a lot with the 1 second. Just give it to me.
It's true. How did it end though? They land. Like I felt like this episode had a lot of like lore stuff. Like I'm very curious how far like the plot's gonna go, like how the story's gonna go.
Yeah.
Because it started off very simple. But like I wonder if it's just gonna get like super shonen, like it's gonna be all of the all the pillars kind of thing against all the other people.
Well, I mean, there was a big religious revelation as well, where they're talking about how the Vandalus is basically the source of religion. It's like, okay, this is getting a little bit deeper than I expected from my firefighters kicking with rocket.
In season 1, because I just caught up on season 1. Like I think they were like 5 episodes into season 2.
Yeah.
Because I had always gotten decently far in Fire Force, but I never finished season 1. And then when I was watching it, they start getting into like the Adola, like it's like the other alternate universe kind of thing. And I was like, man, this is like getting real deep for my firefighter anime.
I do appreciate it though, because it's nice to see it kind of develop. They don't just dump it on you in episode 2 like they did with Deca-Dence or something like that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Especially because this is our first episode, and we're not like, none of the stuff we're talking about is in episode 1. We weren't fortunate enough to start on the exact week where all this stuff started. Yeah. There's probably going to be, these ones are going to be a little bit longer. There's going to be more opinions on the show itself than just this episode, just so you guys can kind of know some of our starter opinions on the show before we talk about just each week.
A little bit more preface and a little.
Yeah, that's why we're talking a little bit more, not just about this episode of Fire Force, but just a little bit more Fire Force in general.
Yeah.
That we kind of know where we stand on it, and then obviously as we get into next week's episode, you already know where we're standing. We're probably just gonna be diving into the episode.
Yeah. We might reference back to other stuff later.
Well, yeah, you have to reference back. That's the whole
Yeah.
point. Especially too, the nice part is going forward as we watch episodes like today. For instance, we watched ReZero and Deca-Dence and
fresh in our minds first thing this morning.
Yeah, and fresh in our minds, and we also get to keep notes as we do it instead of now this week I had to look back on everything, and that's why all I remembered was a rocket kick, for instance.
Yeah,
because that was the most hype moment, and that's the moment my brain remembers.
It's also the furthest away from your mind, right? You're going back to Friday.
Yeah, almost a full week ago, and my monkey brain only remembers the flashiest things that happen, which is why that was all I thought about today when I was remembering it. I just trying to remember how Fire Force ended. They landed
it
back.
ends with them debriefing. They drop off. We decided his name was Ogre, right?
Yeah, that's what we decided it was Oga. I don't know if it's true, but that's what his name.
Somebody's gonna find this video and just put a bunch of hate into the comments on this because it's their favorite character.
Yeah, listen, I could go in and Google things, but I feel like if we're gonna start
this
doing
is more
that,
genuine.
We're setting a precedence that we can't do, because I'm already searching that name and I'm not finding anything for that. So
just search Fire Force Flaming Ink. That's all you have to look.
It's Ogun, Ogun. We were pretty close.
I feel like it's pronounced Oga, so I'm gonna stick with that.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, in case you can't tell, we're not going to flawlessly pronounce every single name.
We are non-native speakers.
No, we are weebs, so you're going to hear probably some decent ones compared to a lot of other people, but then there's also going to be terrible ones. And I'm guaranteeing you for God of High School, they're all going to be bad.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be our own cringe compilation for that.
Yeah, and that's okay. But yeah, I don't know why in my mind I thought it ended with something big. But
it didn't. It ended with them dropping off Ogun at the school and Arthur and them going back to the... They gave a bunch of people potatoes for some reason.
I think, because then Shinra goes to Amaterasu, right? And that's where he,
I don't think he does.
I thought that's how it ended, was that he went there and he realized that the blonde one was the girl from inside that or something.
I think he did it outside the fire station.
Okay.
When they were getting back.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for that episode, though. It was good. I agree that the pacing was a little weird, but that's mainly just because we're so used to... all the story, and then they end with that huge, their biggest moment, the fight, and then it kind of just rolls the credits right after. And in this, you had to kind of sit on it for half the episode and then just watch a lot of slower stuff.
Which I can appreciate if it serves the greater purpose. Like if they piss around for half an episode at some point, I'm going to be a little annoyed. But
I'm also really used to animes with their ridiculously long arcs, such as One Piece. So it feels so weird that they already left the Chinese Federation, whatever it was.
One Piece, we would still be in season 1 content if they were doing that in Fire Force.
Yeah, we would be just meeting probably the second person. We'd be we just met
Arthur,
Nami or something.
Yeah, Arthur would have just shown up at this point.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, that's all for Fire Force. That's all I can think about. What do you think about? Do you think there's anything big next week? Sometimes you can. There's gonna be even an anime on this list where I'm probably gonna say where I feel like you can feel that the next episode's gonna be a big one.
I think the next episode's gonna be a build up. I think there's gonna be a lot of the captains talking and discussing everything because they're really kind of shaking up the basis of their entire government.
That's true.
So depending on how they want to do it, they can go in guns blazing or they can do it with a proper build-up, and I think they're going to do the build-up.
Yeah, I feel like they're going to go probably to the first again soon, because that's the place where the Temple of Soul has the most pull, and I feel like there's going to be some collaborations with another.
The big thing is that they're kind of going against the Temple of Soul because everything they found out goes against their teachings.
Yeah, but listen, if there's anything anime has always told us, it's that religion's bad.
I mean, yeah, but...
That's every single anime lets us know religion is bad, and then you also have good ones like Fullmetal Alchemist letting us know military's bad, and religion's bad.
Yeah,
and everything's bad.
Yeah, basically, if you trust it, just don't.
But yeah, that's pretty much everything on Fire Force. We'll have episode 11 next week, if I'm not incorrect. So after that was Friday the 4th, Saturday the 5th, and the only one I had Sword Art that day.
Yep.
But you're not caught up on Sword Art yet. I'm just gonna say it was a pretty wicked episode.
I know they're in amazing episodes right now. That's why I'm working on it.
They're definitely in the final parts. But yeah, there was a big cliffhanger at the end of that one, so I'm excited to see where that goes when we get to this Saturday. And then the one we both watched was Misfit of Demon Academy,
right? Which is
the best worst anime of the year.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that one.
You think so?
I'm gonna go with of the ones we're both watching. I'm gonna say yes.
Yeah. Why? Which one do you think? What are you watching that you think is the better, worst one?
GB8.
The thing is,
it's a bad monster movie in anime form.
Yeah, the thing is, no one truly knows if Misfit of Demon Academy is bad or not. It's this mind, because you're not sure if the person who wrote this knows that they're bad, so they're like having fun with it. Like they're like, hey, I'm going for this classic like overpowered main character kind of story. Or you're not sure if they're like being serious, like all the other, you know, like the Smartphone Another World, Death March into a Parallel, like all those kind of all the same anime basically, where you have that overpowered main character.
Yeah, I mean, some of them do it relatively well, like Death March into a Parallel World. At least had some interest behind it. Well, in Another World, my smartphone, I found it genuinely painful to watch.
That was just a harem, right? Where like the plot was only there to get us to meet more women.
Yeah.
Like any plot that happened, you're like, oh, this is just a long way of introducing us to a new woman that's going to be his wife or something.
Yeah, basically. Oh, there's a problem. I have an app for that.
Yeah, sponsored by iPhone. But yeah, no, it's like I've seen so many videos on it already where people are like, is this like the new One Punch Man? Because you know people loved One Punch Man, but it was one of those technically where the main character is just so overpowered that there's no fear. Like you don't.
There is, but I feel like One Punch Man was playing it up as a joke from the start.
Yeah.
Well, they're playing a very straight face if that's what they're going for.
How many episodes in did it take before you were like, oh, it's one of these? Because it wasn't right in the first. Like he was overpowered in the first one, but I feel like it wasn't until the episode where he has all the quotable lines. Like you think killing me is enough to make me die?
Yeah, or what was it? Do you think death can kill me? Or
yeah, he's like, do you think stopping time is enough to stop me? And I'm like, typically yes, like that would be.
Yeah, that's a pretty good trump card to have in your pocket usually.
But then it's also just got like the great part where they're like, oh, like their baby's born. Like we're gonna name it. Just like, oh no, Svoldio. It is like the little baby.
I'm pretty sure that was episode 1. That was when he was like introducing himself.
Well, I loved it. And I feel like originally when I first heard about that, because I'm pretty sure it was in another one of those, like, what will I be watching this season by some sort of Anituber, I was like, I don't know if this is going to be it. You know, like, I don't know if this is it, guys.
Yeah.
We've seen so many demons, like, where there's, like, a reincarnated demon lord. The only ones I could think of that did it really well were probably, like, Devil's a Part-Timer.
Yeah, which I actually do really appreciate that show, but even it's a completely different tone, because he isn't overpowered for most of it.
That's like a slice of life for the most part, where you just have your main character is the devil, but other than that, it's normal life.
Yeah, if anything, Misfit of Demon Academy is almost him like way down the line after he's gotten used to humans. He's like, I don't want to kill them anymore. Yeah,
I definitely feel like they're doing it all on purpose because it has too many like tropes and cliches, and it's too many things mixed together. It's because there's all these animes about demon lords, and you know then there's all these like school animes about the main character just being the absolute best.
True.
Like a regular Magic High or whatever the hell it is.
Oh god,
that one. Yeah, they're coming out with a new season of that soon too. But that one has the main character just basic generic anime guy, but super overpowered.
Yeah, I mean, the more you say it, the more I kind of have to agree because the main character has so many of those quotable one-liners that just make their ways into memes that there's no way they're not doing it deliberately.
I have to believe they're doing it on purpose, but it's like. And it's also like it's good enough where I actually still want to watch it every single week. Where I'm like, yeah, like I know no matter what happens, the main character is getting out of it. But that's not what the draw of the show is. It's not like one of those like you're anxious, like how is he going to win this? You're like, oh, he's going to win this. I'm just excited to see how.
Yeah, what bullshit is he going to pull out that's going to let him win this?
I'm excited just to see him flex on some of these kids, and that's why in my notes here, one of the things I wrote for this episode is that it was like the first episode he didn't do anything OP, and then I have a few dots and I said until the end. But because I don't think this one, it was the last episode where it was in the classroom, or was that the beginning of this one?
In the classroom, like at the very, very start. That was at the start of this episode.
Okay, yeah, because then the one guy, and all I once again don't remember his name. It's like Reeves or something like that. Reedus.
I couldn't tell you.
He also looks like an extremely generic anime character, just like the blonde or like the brown-haired protagonist instead of the black-haired one.
He looks like an RPG protagonist.
He does, yes. He looks like he'd be in one of those Atelier games.
I hate that you're right about that.
But he comes in and you're like, oh, is he a bad guy? Is he a good guy? I still don't know. He seems like a nice lad, you know.
He's a good guy. He's a little misguided. He just
likes his teacher, you know.
Yeah,
But yeah, when the twist to me was when the task is to go and they're doing this underwater battle. I was like, okay, yeah, like don't worry, the main characters are going to get in on this and he's going to solve this all for him.
Well, I mean,
but then he didn't technically.
I mean, even as they started, it's like okay, we all know the humans are going to cheat. We all know that the people who went in are going to lose. Mm-hmm. So is this going to be a case of he gets pissed off and he just bitch slaps them all?
Yeah, I thought he was going to go midway through, like while they're losing, he was just going to appear in the water and just mess everybody up. Yeah. But instead, he let it play out. He let them all lose. Then he kind of was like, "Hey, I'll heal you." And then now we're just getting the setup for next episode.
Yeah, like he had the little moment with the characters, like, "Listen, I understand you don't like me, but I'm gonna heal you so you don't die.
Yeah, he's basically like, hey, you like your teacher. He's like, you're making your teacher sad by not letting me heal you. And the guy's like, oh, damn, you got me, bro.
Yeah.
Flawless logic again.
Yeah, they're just like, well, if you can get rid of the water in the lake, he's like, bitch,
Yeah,
do you know who
I
I
assume
am?
that was just so oh, you can get rid of the water in the lake. And then he's just like, water rises. Or no, he just drops like a...
Yeah, he just dropped a big fucking fireball into the middle of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for the next episode because I'm assuming he's just going to wreck them. You know, he's got his little team there.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, the people he's fighting are supposed to be powerful.
Now, it did end with a cliffhanger, technically. There's the lady. So, once again, don't remember her name.
Oh,
it was
right.
the girl. It was the girl they met, Esther or something. I don't remember. It was the girl.
The reincarnated hero's heart, or
yeah. Do you think she's gonna be? Because like I think
she is so brainwashed. There is no way they have not like.
Because I think when they mentioned it was like I don't know how it was Kanon or something like that. It was Canon basically was the hero's name. Yeah, with a K.
Yeah.
They said he reincarnated like 4 parts or something like that so far, and they only introduced like.
Well, no, they said he had like 7 sources, which is like your heart.
Yes, but they only introduced the like 3 of them so far, and none of their numbers were like 1. I don't think it was like it was like 2, 3, and 4, something like that. So I'm like, oh, this chick's got to be like the first one.
Yeah, but the thing is, he said that the only one who could truly be hurt or be the hero is the first one, and she said he won't be reborn because that source was destroyed.
Yeah, but so the lady's definitely going to be part of him though, right?
Oh yeah, there's no denying 100%.
That because we need, and I don't know if like. I'm assuming he's just, she's going to be like, oh, I can't help it. She's like, I like you, but like I have to destroy you. And he's going to be like, I fixed it now. He's going to reach inside of her, break some sort of seal, and boom, done.
Yeah, I was going to say, she's not even going to say anything. She's just going to be like a fighting doll at this point, and he's just going to fix it magically like everything else.
But do you think that if she does come out as like a fighting doll, she's actually going to pose a challenge? Or do you think they're going to make it look? Because like when he fought the last guy, there was actually like that challenge to it,
Yeah.
Like he was kind of like, he was running out of. But then that's where he's like, I was only born with like 1/10 or whatever it is of my power. And then he kind of just unlocked it right there.
Yeah. Now I have like 80% of it. So fuck you.
Yeah, they're just leaving it open so that when it looks like they can show it like look like he's going to lose. But then if he ever actually needs to win, they're like, I just gained that extra 1% that I was missing. Yeah. They'll just do the old Dragon Ball way.
I mean, Dragon Ball's is like get angry, hit harder.
Yeah, Dragon Ball's the classic. It's like, I'm losing. It's like, but I was only at 5% of my power. Now I'm at 6%. And then Goku starts losing, and then Goku goes Super Saiyan, 2. And then, the other guy goes up to 7% of his power.
Yeah, when in doubt, bring it a new form. That's all you have to do.
Yeah, exactly. That's the classic shonen. We've been dealing with that for years. One Piece, Naruto, all of them. But
I mean, that is very, very true.
I don't know if the main character from Demon and Misfit Academy is going to keep doing that, or if he's just going to be...
I mean, he hasn't even really gotten a new form yet. He's just gotten glowing eyes at one point.
Yeah, and I think that he's just going to be, like, he's going to hit, like, 100% of his power, like, early on in the show, and then that's just going to be it. It's going to be like One Punch Man, right? Like, One Punch Man doesn't get any stronger. He's, like, as strong throughout the entire show. It's just that no one has ever posed a challenge, I think, to get to the end of, like, the first season in, like, a slight way. I feel like that's going to be the same as this thing. I'm excited for next week though because I feel like it's just going to be a big fight. Yeah. I'm assuming it's going to be a big fight in a place with no water now. But I thought that it would have been the classic. He's so strong that the holy water barely even affects him, so he's going to just go do it in the water anyways.
But he had to make a point. He had to flex on.
Yeah, if the guy didn't say you can remove the water, I feel like he was just going to fight them in the water and still win. But then because the guy taunted him by saying that, if you can get rid of the water, like that'd be my guess.
I mean, knowing him, he would have just boiled the water around his opponents or some shit like that if he did. So,
but like they have to make these hero reincarnations a threat at least, right? Like he can't just absolutely dominate them.
I mean, they clashed once and he bitch slapped the guy. So
yeah, that's true. He wrecked him, and then the guy's like, no, you lost. You sit down. You lost.
Yeah,
but I mean, I'm excited. It's one of those shows which a lot of times when I first started watching, I was like, oh no, this is going to be like my guilty pleasure trash isekai of the year kind of thing. Not an isekai, obviously, but like same thing as when we got like the In Another World with my smartphone and stuff like that. I watched the whole thing and I was like, I know it's garbage, but I want to see it just because I got spare time.
Something that's at the bar is what it should be better than.
Yeah, and I thought that was what this was going to be for my season. I was like, this is going to be my really terrible show that I'm just going to watch, just for like a laugh at how bad it is. But then when I learned that it's in on the joke, then it became a whole different thing.
I mean, I still have a little bit of doubt.
I right now I'm 100% believing. We'll have to see though if they do anything too ridiculous.
I mean,
no one used the line, "You think killing me was enough to make me die," like in serious.
I mean, yeah, I almost feel like someone they took the source material, then someone put it into the show, and they said, "This is fucking horrible. I'm gonna change some lines, make it funny, hope it works.
I mean, it's possible. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe there'll be one big moment eventually that just gives it away, whether or not it's on purpose or it's by accident.
True.
But that's this week's episode of Misfit of Demonking Academy, and I think that was also episode 10.
Yeah, I think everything's going to be on episode 10 right now, except for
most
maybe,
things, yeah.
Maybe Deca-Dence and ReZero now.
So the next was Sunday. I don't think we have any anime on Sunday. I don't know if you're watching anime on Sunday. You might be. But I don't even think I have just a one by myself that I watch on Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday's mostly a catch-up day for me, so I haven't...
Maybe your Monster Girl Doctor comes out that day.
You might actually be right.
Because I'm
that's
trying to
my guilty pleasure.
I feel like whenever I look on a Sunday, there's like 5. I feel like Boruto might come out Sunday.
Yeah, but who cares about Boruto?
No one cares about Boruto at all. But I'm pretty sure actually what did I just hear the other day, news-wise? I think the original creator of Naruto passed away.
Oh, god damn.
Something like that.
Not even that big of a Naruto fan, that said.
I am, but
I mean,
not a Boruto fan though. The thing is, I've seen Naruto. I don't need to see it again.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Naruto without the stakes. And
yeah, I would assume it'd be for like kids who haven't seen Naruto. Maybe they'll watch Boruto and like that because it's like the same thing.
I don't know. I remember it was I looked at some of the clips of it. And it's like, okay, the power creep is ridiculous because he already has a Rasengan.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like when you make a new generation, it always seems really fanficky. Like I remember when I was like 13, I wanted to write a comic book about Naruto, but like their younger siblings or like their kids, and I was like, that's like fanficky, and it was awful. Whenever we envisioned it, it was terrible.
Really good description,
but it is very fanficky, and it's just like there was already people that were the best. Like the stakes were already so high by the end of Naruto Shippuden. It's like you can't start the show expect the same fans who watch that to like want to go down to these low stakes and build it back up through like 600 episodes. But I'm assuming there are people out there who didn't watch all of Naruto and maybe they started Boruto and they're like, oh, this is so new to me. I like it.
Yeah, and then they go back and watch Naruto. It's like, what is this? It's just Boruto. But
some of the fights are insane in Boruto though.
Oh,
I've watched a few of those just on YouTube clips in like HD, and they look nice.
Yeah, I remember I think it was Naruto and Sasuke versus I can't remember his name. It was like I want to say Madara, but I know that's not right.
No, it was probably one of the I think they're like the same race as Kaguya, who was the chick from the first one. It was the one from the movie too. They just did it in the show a little bit longer. Right. But there was the Boruto movie, which is he fights them during the Chunin exams, which is the big thing. Yeah. But I'm not a Boruto fan, but that comes out on Sunday, I'm pretty sure. The next after that is Monday, where we have one episode of anime that comes out on Monday, which is God of High School, the second Crunchyroll original.
Yeah, I still haven't watched God, or what was it,
Tower of God.
Yeah, they have a thing about gods, don't they?
Yeah, they have. I don't know if it's another Crunchyroll original or not, but Noblesse comes out.
I believe that is an original.
I was going to say that would be the third manhwa that they're making into an anime, which is good because they're all awesome.
They are.
I started actually reading some on just webtoons, like the webtoon website basically, and full color is just the best. Like when you go from having obviously I have a lot of manga behind me, but when you go from reading manga for like years and you got that like one, maybe every now and then they'd have a special one that have like color. Yeah,
you get those color pages for especially things like Shonen Jump.
Yeah, and especially if it was like a manga you were reading and they didn't have an anime yet, you sometimes didn't know what color people were like, what color their hair was, because it could be blonde, it could be platinum, it could be pink. It's gonna look like white, right? Yeah. It could be brown, it could be black, but you don't know.
And there's always those colored pages. Like even if they describe the characters, sometimes where the translation doesn't match up with the actual descriptions. And
yeah, I remember one of my first ones was Black Cat. I loved Black Cat, and I had the manga, and then they eventually said they were coming with an anime for that. But then I think it was. Obviously there's covers which made it a little bit easier, but something like I think when the anime came out, I didn't realize that I think his name is Sven was the main guy.
The eye patch guy, right?
I didn't realize he had green hair. Yeah. I thought it was blonde the entire time, and then the anime came out and he had green hair. I was like, what the hell? And then I re-looked at the covers, and I was like, I guess that's green. But to me, it always looked blonde, and that's just what I assumed because it's an anime.
Yeah, true. I mean, especially if you're looking at, what was I thinking? There was one series, I think it was Rosario Vampire. In the first chapter, they described the character as brown-haired, but on the cover, she's pink. It's like, what the hell are you playing at?
What shade of pink is this? Strawberry brown? But
I'm not familiar with that shade.
What are your general opinions on God of High School? Because I've seen people's thoughts range a lot on the show.
It's definitely a show. If you don't like tournament arcs, you're not gonna like it.
Who doesn't like tournament arcs though? They're the best.
I mean, that's debatable because it's kind of an old standby for some shows, especially shonens.
The original Chunin exams was the best tournament arc I can think of.
Yeah, but think about how many shows have done tournament arcs, and to base your entire show around it. It can definitely be a gamble.
It's true, but the thing is, it's not going to be a tournament arc forever.
You say this.
The plot has already like exploded so much, especially in the past few episodes, which we'll get into when we talk more about this one. But like, I don't know where it's going. When I first started the show, I was like, this is a anime just about like mixed martial arts tournament.
Yeah.
And then like from there, then when you first, and the pronunciation of this is killing me.
Charyok.
Yes, when they start using their Charyok, and I'm like, whoa, what's this now? This is like magic now. And but like other people in the audience, I don't know if they see it or if they're just like, hey.
I feel like they do, and they just don't give a shit.
Yeah, so when that started happening, I was like, okay, it's not just a mixed martial arts tournament. It's not like a sports anime anymore. This is now like a shonen, you know. Yeah. So
well, I mean, even towards the start with I think it was Jin who had like the black turtle and the the dragon strikes.
No, that's Dewi.
Dewi, that's
that's the one name I remember.
Yeah. See, I thought I knew his name, and I'm
yes, it's oh my god, it's
I
Jin
know,
is the main character.
Yeah, okay.
And then there's Miwa is their name.
There's Mira.
Yes, I just call her Mira. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And then there's Dewi. Is it Han Dewi? I feel like it might be.
Dewi sounds very, very right to me, and I hate that I forgot that.
The thing is, too, is that so I grew up with my best friend being Korean, and that's where I got into Korean culture. That's why I like K-pop. Like I hate to be the hipster again, but I liked K-pop before it was cool. You know,
you did.
Back in like 2008, 2009, I was listening to tons of it when I was growing up.
Yeah, I remember.
Which is like when I saw this, I was like, yeah, like a lot of these names are like familiar to me because I had like more Korean friends and stuff like that, and you know I hung around with this like family and stuff like that. But it's just so weird going from so many years of all the Japanese and anime, because obviously as weebs ourselves, we like to use Japanese terms whenever we can for no apparent reason.
I hate to say it, but
when you're walking through a store, that thing's not cute. That's kawaii. You know, like you got to say it all the time. That's how you tell people. That's how you let them know. So it's just so weird switching to Korean all of a sudden that everything just sounds so strange. And it's just even when they're talking, like they're in the Seoul tournament, I was like, oh, like this isn't in Japan. This isn't Tokyo.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a bit of an adjustment because like they're talking about all the prefectures, and it's like, I know this isn't Japan, but I know Japan has prefectures, and it's driving me nuts.
One of the first obvious things to say about Gotta High School is that the animation's really good.
Oh, no
even like in the opening, the fighting in the opening, the fighting in the show, all very good. Yeah, like it all looks real.
And I do want to say, out of all the anime I've watched this season, it definitely is the most banger of an opening and ending.
It does, yes. The thing is, I skip the opening, but I always skip it to just like 2 seconds before it ends. So I always hear that very last line where I think it's just like I'll be your contradiction or something like that.
That's the entire song.
I always get just to that little part at the end, and I'm always just like, I was like, I don't want to watch the full thing because I ain't got time for that. I always watch the opening the very first time the show comes out.
Oh yeah,
and then unless it's like Domestic Girlfriend was the last one where I probably listened to the opening every single one.
I didn't watch the show, but I can fully understand that.
But yeah, like unless it's like one of those like an ultra banger, I just kind of skip it, and then I always leave the last few seconds, and it's always the best part of the opening, anyways.
Sure,
it's always the hypest part. But yeah, Gotta High School. I've heard a lot of mixed opinions on it, just because some people are like, it doesn't actually have that much going on. Like, yeah, the fights look good, but that's like all it is. That's where it ends. But I'm really curious what happens when this tournament arc ends.
See, I don't know if the anime is going to continue past that.
Because the thing is, it depends. It's how long do you think the season's going to be? Do you think it's going to be like a Tower of God where it's only like 12 episodes?
I don't think it's going to be just 12 episodes because where they're at, I don't know if they could wrap it up in just like, 2 episodes?
Yeah, now? But they're at, I don't know, like the plot in this, we have to talk about the newest episode a lot to go into this because the plot like explodes a lot at the end of the episode.
Yeah, it's a huge plot development. They're hitting the climax of this arc.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they can wrap up all the loose ends in 2 episodes.
Yeah, but it's also like when they discuss where they're in the current episode, where they're at in the tournament, they're in like the almost semifinals, aren't they? It's either they're in the semifinals or if they win this fight, they're in the semifinals.
Yeah, I think it's quarterfinals.
Yeah, which means that they'll be
going to the semifinals.
Yeah, which means like the show's got to be nearing its time where it has to leave a tournament arc. Eventually they'll have to be in the finals, and then the plot from there, I assume, is going to be more open. Because if you remember how the show starts,
it's enter a tournament to win a wish.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, wish. Like, what? Like, I'm assuming that just means this guy's really rich and he can give you whatever he'd like through money.
I mean, in the first episode, you'd have to remember though, there was an island. The guy, bitch slapped it.
Well, now we've seen that to a much more excessive force that we've saw now in the newest episode. So to kind of start in the newest episode, it's the main plot you're thinking about is that it's the main team. I don't think they have a team name other than maybe like Team Seoul would be all it is because that's where they're from.
Is it even Seoul for them?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was something else.
No, yeah, they're from the old capital.
Okay.
That's what you think they'd be the best from being from the capital, but no. And then they're fighting. They're supposed to go up against a team that we're supposed to like. We're not supposed to root against this team.
Yeah.
Because it's got the main character. I don't remember what his name is.
Oh, I'm having such a hard time remembering.
I
I don't have the experience with Korean names.
Yeah,
so
it's gonna be like Jung-suk or something like that. Like it's
Yeah.
gonna be pretty close to him. And he is fighting for his friend, who got like her body all sorts of broken by Shark Guy.
Which it was very similar to Daiwi's reason to fight.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the whole point. It's the classic shonen thing. It's like reason to fight makes you OP, right?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, the bad guy always doesn't have a reason to fight. They just love fighting. And, they're really good at it, but they always lose because they don't have the reason to. But yeah, like he has a reason to fight. If he gets his wish, he can, use that to heal his friend who can then, fight again, move again, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we're like, oh, we don't want him to lose either, but we know we can't have the main characters lose.
Yeah, which, I mean, they kind of address that in the first arc, like before they actually get to the main tournament. When Daiwi loses, it's like, okay. So his friends started undergoing treatment, and then that obviously didn't go the way it was supposed to. But so I don't get why they couldn't just fix her leg.
Yeah,
because he's obviously a contender for this key. I'm surprised they didn't really try and sell him.
Yeah, he is obviously a contender for the key.
I guess, yeah, spoilers.
The weirdest part about this fight though is because they've done this multiple times. It is the best of 3 because they're teams, right? Yeah. Which means anytime you go up, there's almost a guarantee that you're going to see all 3 fights. So the main team has to lose at one point. So each of the times they were fighting, you're like, okay, which character here is going to lose somehow? Like the one where they had Jin hit the wrong pressure point, so he's out.
Just out of the that was a very anticlimactic.
Well,
way
because
to deal
you're
with
rarely ever going to introduce these 3 characters and only have 2 of them fight, right?
Yeah.
So the weird part about that though for this one is that I don't know, like they've shown him, I think, twice, the third guy for their team.
Well, yeah, even when they showed him fight, they just showed him get his ass kicked.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything.
He doesn't, because we're not seeing. Obviously, this fight started with Daiwi versus that really jacked chick.
Yeah.
And Daiwi won, which means then the next one was going to Jin versus his name might be Park. No, that's like the main guy. I don't know. I'm trying to remember his name. Either way, he's got the cool tiger sweater.
Yeah.
But then they go into their fight, and obviously that escalates to the main plot of the end. But that means the third person didn't fight Mira yet.
I mean, there's a couple things I can say about that. First of all, the last episode was very much about Mira.
Yeah, it's true. There's been there's been more episodes I feel like focused on Mira than there has been about most of them. I mean, or maybe it just feels like that. Maybe from like the wedding episode.
I feel like hers are more plot oriented, while the other ones are more character driven. Because we do see Daiwi his personal struggles a lot, but
a lot of their plot gets developed in fights, and a lot of her plot was developed outside of fights.
Yeah, because there was the marriage episode, and there was the her getting her sword back, which kind of connected together. But
yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the marriage episode though. But
it was definitely out of place.
Yeah, and that was early too. So like early on in anime, you normally want to establish the anime and the plot and all that kind of stuff, and that one just felt like way different than all the other ones.
I get they were trying to develop almost her motivation or how far she was willing to go, but I don't think it was the way to do it.
Yeah, it reminded me very much of Final Fantasy X, like Yuna Seymour. If you've played 10, there's a wedding. There's like a forced wedding in that too, where you had to sweep in and rescue her from that. Very much reminded me of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that episode was a little bit off. But like in general, I just feel like they've developed all these characters decently well for the only 10 episodes they have. I'm a fan, and obviously Jin is your very typical protagonist.
Yeah.
He's goofy. He doesn't really take things seriously until when he takes it serious, you're like, oh shit's getting real.
Shit got real, but
eats a lot like all the shonen guys.
He has a relationship with his grandfather, which I feel like is a kind of a standby, like going back all the way to Dragon Ball.
Yeah, you don't want to have relationships with your parents. You want relationships with your grandparents.
Yeah, of course. I'm assuming his parents are dead.
We gotta assume. Clearly, they weren't good enough at fighting.
Apparently, yeah.
His grandpa's a cool character, though. I'm excited to see more, and that's why I think after the reveal, we'll talk in a minute for the end of this episode, after they finish this tournament arc, I'm excited to see where the plot goes. Because we've been hinted at this huge religion thing going on the whole time.
They've established it with the newest episode, right?
They hinted at it with the marriage episode was the first one, I'm pretty sure.
They showed the cult.
And their cult, and then they've kind of hinted at it a few times with, you see the perspective of the, like, I don't know, what are they called? They're not like administrators. For the tournament.
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the word. I want to say administrators almost.
Maybe. But you see their perspective a couple times, and their perspective is all fighting off this evil organization, which is very different because we're not seeing this from the main characters. The main characters have no idea this is even going on.
Yeah.
We're just seeing it from these side characters. We switch their perspective, and you had like the guy, the commentator dying, Big sad.
I was actually shocked when they did that. It was
Yeah,
like,
then-
wow. I actually thought he was going to be more
Well,
important.
then too, you also think that his family gets killed, but
Well,
then it's revealed that they weren't actually killed.
I feel like they could have done something to save him as well, but
You'd
whatever.
think they could have, but I mean, they also didn't show his fight. That would have been pretty cool because he's like blind and he has like the moon style sword thing. And,
Well, he didn't have the sword. He was blinded by it.
yeah,
So
but I mean, the plot is gonna explode. And this is one of the anime I was talking about where I think that the next episode is going to be it's either going to be it's got to be a huge episode, right?
well, yeah, there's no way. They've established that the key's been born effectively.
Yeah, so I'm assuming if you're listening to this, you have probably seen it, or else you probably used a time code to skip. But
Yeah, if not, go down to the time codes right now and don't blame us.
yeah, because the main one of the side plots here is the whole reason this God of High School tournament is being held is to locate the key.
Yeah, the key to what? We have no idea.
We have no idea. The whole plot in the show, there's some sort of underlying theme with the gods and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously the very first thing we see is the guy who runs the God of High School using his power to just crush some people.
Yeah.
I'm assuming some sort of competitors or something like that on an island.
I'm assuming it was probably the other major forces base or something like that. He smashed one of their minor outposts.
Yeah, like it was just a lot of businessmen that were there and something like that. So
Yeah.
he was doing something. So that's immediately established that this is not just a fighting anime.
Yeah.
But he's looking for the key, and the key can only be brought out by like some sort of
conflict.
yeah, like a conflict, like a fight or flight kind of instinct. And the thing about anime is, what have we learned after all these years? Who do we think the key is going to be?
Usually the guy we're following around.
We're going to assume the key's Jin, okay? So now we don't know if there's one. He doesn't specify. There could be tons of keys.
Because they established the keys very much almost like a god themselves. It was the, I guess, the white wolf or the white fox.
Well, yeah, the Charyak or whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's when they explain that. It explains basically that it's like a god lending you their power.
Which I don't get why this one particular one's that much more important.
Yeah,
but
I don't know either. Maybe maybe it's different. Maybe it's not just like the god lending the power. Maybe it's God like taking over or something like
yeah,
that.
or it might just be like they're actually like a gatekeeper to something bigger. Or
Yeah, we've just barely been introduced to what this even means.
yeah,
in
they,
like
they
a
haven't even
sense.
given a name yet. It's just a white wolf and or fox showed up.
Yeah.
Possessed. I'm guessing it's a fox because the guy grew kitsune ears and.
Yeah, I mean, it was either that or it could have been very much like an Okami kind of thing.
I mean, yeah, I guess I default to fox because of anime.
But yes, from every other anime in the world, I assume at one point Jin's going to be about to lose in a moment he can't lose, and he's going to be the key. Instead, he's in a fight, and like you're like, okay, the fight's not going well for him. But then the guy's kind of coaching him while he fights him because he made a promise to his grandpa he'd like take care of him.
Yeah, he'd teach him a few things.
Yeah, so you're like, okay, I like this guy. This is a fight I'm enjoying. They're fighting.
Yeah.
The main character can't lose though, so like we know what's going to happen. And then as you pretty much see the main character win, or what you think is win, then the other guy's like, yeah, like no though, I can't lose either. Yeah. And then the main, I don't know what you'd call him. We're assuming the main
secondary protagonist. Because we've kind of followed him throughout the series as well, with him dealing with Shark Boy. So
yeah, but what would you even call the guy who was running God of High School? Like, what is he? Is he a villain? Do you think?
I want to call him a plot device.
Yeah, either way, he's fighting the lead cult guy, and then they both get this like sense. They both feel something, disturbance in the force, if you will.
Yeah.
And then the other guy, the guy that Jin's fighting, comes up, and he, basically it's like surrounded in like an aura. He gets like the ears. We're assuming it's just like the Charyuk kind of thing, which makes sense. His powers were all like fire too, and this one was very fiery when he was using them. And then they're like, "Oh, the key is awoken," and then you're just like, "Wait, what? Like Jin's not the key?"
I mean, the thing is, we don't even know that technically. They coincided, but for all we know, because moments before, Jin took techniques from his allies, right?
Yeah.
He used the Moonlight Sword and what was it, the Black Tortoise Strike?
Yeah, I think he used Tortoise because that's like the cool defensive punch.
Yeah.
And then he's like, he used his Dragon Tempest thing.
Yeah,
to the next level.
Which I almost wonder if they're going to just like kind of retcon it almost and use that as the key awakening. It just took them a second to realize.
Yeah, if you think that
because we don't even know what the time frames are here.
Like if it's like a red herring kind of situation, like they want us to think, but then it's actually Jin, or even if they think it's him, but like Jin also like did something there and he's actually the key. That could be possible. They could just also reveal that the key's not just one person. It's like anybody who gets past this certain point kind of thing.
True.
So there could be more. Or, it would be a cool twist if just Jin wasn't the key, like this other guy was. And
I mean, it would be. There's no way in hell it's going to happen. Though.
But the thing is, with the whole system of best 2 out of 3, Jin can lose this fight, and then Mira can still come in and beat his third ally, and then they would win.
I mean, you're right. I don't think that unnamed third guy is going to have a chance.
That's what I'm wondering. They can't come off this fight with Jin and him and have him lose and then be like, okay, yeah, you thought that fight was cool. Check out Mira and this guy.
Mira and generic
Bob.
anime. Like, he looks like such a generic character. That's what I think
Very
is sad.
generic. And that's why I was like, oh, how's that going to work? I'm assuming Jin has to win this, but that's why I'm actually really excited for the next episode. I think the next one's going to
It'll be nice to see where they go. And
tell us more about the key plot in general. We're
Yeah.
still going to see the conclusion with the main villain guy and the other guy. I also really like Dancy guy.
oh, right. Which
He's one of the, I don't know what they call, did they just call him the Six?
yeah.
It's something close to that.
He's
right
one of the
there.
six, and I can't remember the name, but he's the National Treasure user.
Yeah, he's like, that was dope. Like where they're all just playing the drums and he's
Yeah.
like dancing and he's using all the different weapons.
I have it brings up a big question for me because for Mira it was very important because she had that one national treasure.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's carrying around a crate of the damn things.
Yeah, but like that, maybe there's like 20 national treasures and he has like 17 of them, and Mira has one, and there's gonna be a villain that pops with one and another guy. That's like his thing. But so far we've been introduced to all of them very like quickly, but the ones we've gotten a little bit more from are like the guy who uses the pressure points, who
Yeah.
taught Jin something quickly.
Yeah.
Obviously Jin's grandpa, but we don't know
Yeah.
where he
I
currently
don't even know if he
is.
counts as one of the six. I think he's just.
I think he was.
important. He probably was, but they referred to him as like what, the great tiger who fought in the war.
Yeah. I mean, it's just we obviously didn't get to see everyone we saw get like the card was
Yeah,
one, but we
true.
didn't see him because he's gone missing. So
I mean, that is true. Yeah.
unknown. We don't know what's going on with him, but I feel like they're gonna wrap up. I think that this season might only be 12 episodes. I haven't looked it up yet. They might have already announced it, but I think they're gonna wrap up the key thing in this 12 episodes, and that's gonna be the
Yeah.
end of season 1. And
That
then
would make sense.
you're gonna get the more. It's gonna end with the cliffhanger. You're gonna get the more important plot next time because like you haven't seen Tower of God, but Tower of God ends with a cliffhanger.
I mean, that makes sense. Yeah, they're probably not gonna have it go up against like Noblesse, but they're like once that's on, they might bust out the next season and the next ones.
Well, Noblesse comes out in October too. It comes out next month. So if there's 2 more episodes of God of High School,
That
it's
lines
ending
up.
right at the end of September just for Noblesse to start because they don't typically have a lot of shows running at the same time, like from the same
I mean,
people.
Crunchyroll's still new to producing shows too, right?
Yeah,
So-
very new. Honestly, if like they end God of High School really good, they're killing it though. Because I loved Tower of God. Like there was a couple episodes where I was like maybe I'm not that into the show.
Okay.
But then it ends in the classic way that every anime should end a season, which is a time skip, because it's my favorite.
You and your goddamn time skips.
I think it's going to be a big time skip too, which is even better.
I mean, there are shows that do it really well. I mean, One Piece did a great job of it.
One Piece did a good job. Naruto to Naruto Shippuden did a good job.
Yeah, I don't know if Naruto counts because they just did a brand new series with that. It wasn't a proper time skip in my
Yeah, I
opinion.
mean
but-
it's 2 years difference, but you also have like 100 filler episodes in Naruto that kind of breaks down a few of those like months.
I mean, true, but they're filler episodes.
Yeah, I never watched them. My friend Ryan watched all the filler episodes because he was like super into it, and now he hated himself for it.
I mean,
but-
he's insane.
Yeah, I mean he probably instantly forgot it all. But this was back when we were really into it. We were making like lip sync videos to like Go by Flow and all that kind of stuff.
I've seen a few of those.
But yeah, God of High School, good episode this week. I'm excited for next week's episode. We'll obviously be talking about that on next week's podcast episode because that's going to be a big reveal. They're going to give us more information on the key. We're going to get probably a really sick fight.
Yeah, I hope so.
There is the big possibility that Jin will also have the power up to win, and he'll also unlock like the key.
I'm willing to bet he's going to get a Tiger Charyuk.
Because there's also a thing about anime and a lot of things, which is color, right? It's always red versus blue.
White versus black.
Yes, Jin is blue. This other guy is red. So Jin's probably going to have to get his, and we also haven't seen anything from him about his Charyuk at all, right? So he's going to have to get
Yeah,
one.
I mean, he's just been kicking people.
Yeah, he's just been kicking people good with his dragon kicks.
I mean, he did eat, what was it, the sage fruit or whatever?
Yeah, it was it might have been a tiger fruit or something. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it was called the sage fruit, and like they never really went into that other than the fact that it almost killed him.
Yeah, the guy's like, basically, this will kill you if you're like weak, but it didn't kill him. He's like, okay. He's like, he's fine. It just almost killed him. That's fine. But yeah, that was a good episode. I'm excited for the next one. We'll talk about the next time.
Yep.
Tuesday, we don't have anything that's on Tuesday right now. I feel like there are anime on Tuesday, maybe, but it's just not one that lines up for both of us.
Yeah, no, I think there's a few like ones I'm trying to catch up on. And
I don't remember what day Uzaki-chan comes out.
I feel like I posted and I cannot remember what it was.
But yeah, that's going to be one that by the next week we'll definitely be talking about that. It's probably not Tuesday. It might be like a Friday or one of those
I
days.
feel like it's Thursday, but
And then after that, we obviously have Wednesday the 9th, which is today. So today's a big one, actually. Now, there's one for me that you don't watch, which is the I can't remember. It's either Ahira no Sora, I think is what it is. Like
the basketball one, right?
yes. Very weird art style, but like that one's in the late 40s now. So I've
It's
actually
been running for a while.
Yeah,
so.
they took like a 2-week break at one point, but it's been going for a while, and I really enjoy that anime.
Yeah.
You have to be a sports anime fan though to watch it.
Yeah, I'll watch some, but Kuroko's is probably the limit for me.
Yeah, I mean Kuroko's is much more like a shonen too. This one,
True.
there's no magic powers or anything. They're just shooting baskets.
Yeah.
I'm a huge sports anime guy though, so as soon as I saw it, I was like, yeah, like I don't have an Haikyuu took its break and it wasn't coming back till October. I was like, I have time for this.
Yeah.
This one will probably end this season at like the 50 episode mark. Like I think they're in their last little arc now.
That's good.
But we're not both watching that, so we won't discuss that one. But we have ReZero today as well as Deca-Dence.
Yeah, two that are probably fighting for best anime of the year for some people. So.
Yes, two that are probably, especially in this season, ReZero, I'd have to assume is the biggest thing that came out this season.
It's definitely up there.
Or at least the thing that was most hyped for, because it's been, like 4 years?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
It's been a long time. I think it's one of those things like Attack on Titan where there's a huge gap between 1 and 2, and I think we'll see the next one's faster.
I mean, I hope so, because they're really building up right now, and
yeah, you don't want another 4-year break.
Yeah, I know. I don't think I can do that again, especially if they have to do another director's cuts to get you caught up.
I am happy that I'm assuming this season's also a 25 episode season.
Based on where they're at, they better be.
It better be, which I'm really assuming it is like the first season, because I didn't want, like, 12 episodes would not be enough.
Oh, no, not at all.
Like, not even, because they're on episode 10 now, and I feel like stuff's just starting to amp up. And, this is only like his first arc of going through time. This is only like his first reset point kind of right now in the season. He's got to get like 3 of those at least.
That is true. I mean, technically, I guess he went back to a reset point at the very, very start of the season.
Kinda, yeah.
But even that was very much like screw you. You've lost her. Deal with it.
But yeah, the good part about this is that it's a Wednesday today, which means this is fresh in our minds.
Yeah.
And we both watched it this morning. We'll talk about, do you want to talk about ReZero or you want to talk about Deca-Dence first?
You know what? I'll leave it up to you. I've got both in my mind.
You know what? We're talking about ReZero right now, so let's just talk about ReZero.
Yeah, it's a good continuation.
I wrote some notes here, but since it's so fresh, the one thing I want to start off first is the end of the last episode. He dies, he resets into a spot in the temple with Amelia there, and then he panics. He has like his little freak attack, bonks his head a few times. He goes to the old tea party.
Yep.
And when he leaves the tea party this time,
shit's completely different.
Yeah. So, do you have theories at all on, because he walks out? There's all the shadow stuff. There's the witch. Because I'm pretty confident. Like I get the eyes were kind of different when they did reveal her face, but like that's got to be like Amelia relating.
It could be Amelia. It could be. I almost feel like it might be a kidnap or a combination of the two. Because
the thing is, it's like what happened. Because normally his normal reset is he would then wake Amelia up, but then since the tea party thing, I wouldn't. You don't.
She was gone.
Yeah, which does time. I thought time didn't really do anything while he was inside.
It was really weird, and I think it might have something to do with the good luck token.
Well, I also have questions about that too. So yeah, so he exits, and then it's all covered in shadow, and then he sees is the witch.
Yeah.
And then that's the end of the last episode, and then this one starts off in the same spot.
Right.
And then he kind of gets rescued by Garfield.
I mean, before we go on to the actual current episode, I do want to comment on something from the last one. At the very, very end, when Roswell is being consumed by shadow, and he says, "I'll see you in a world where you don't make a mistake." Establishing that he's known what's been going on this whole time is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, because in one of the most recent episodes, there was the reveal that like Echidna knows about Subaru, and he's it's a very emotional moment because that's the first person he can like actually talk to about it. Yeah. So he like freaks out a little bit. But I assume that there's 2 other characters right now that know about it, which one is Roswell, and I'm a little wondering, especially at the end of this episode, if Beatrice does know.
Yeah, it's really weird because in theory, everyone who has the gospel would know about it if we're doing that, because those 2 were established to have it, right?
Yeah.
So
it's technically a different gospel.
Yeah. Well,
they talk about. It's different than the one that the witches cult basically has,
yeah,
but we're assuming it's along the same lines. It's just this is like a better version. It's like the more like the original versions, and they have like a shitty copy.
It actually works, and the other one just kind of tells you what's going on now. It doesn't tell you what the reset point was, but. Like, that's a huge freaking point right there.
Yeah, and Roswell's one of those characters who's been a mystery since he entered. You're like, hey, it's just this, like, clown dude.
Yeah.
You know, but then like I feel like he got a little bit more plot in this one. And now I think he's going to get a lot more. And there's still like the big mystery. He keeps giving information. He's like, you know, when you see Beatrice, like say this, and she'll give you the information. And I'm like, I just want to hear this information.
Yeah, which
like,
I think is what they just built up to. That's
yeah,
what
like
the next
this is a big plot dump that I want because you know I love watching the whole like the reason the show appeals to me so much is like the resetting back, just like I love Subaru as a character.
Yeah.
I remember I was talking to our friend Andrew a few days ago, and he is catching up on the first season of ReZero. I think he's caught up now, maybe. But one of his big complaints is that he doesn't like Subaru. And I was like, no, dude, like if you watch all of season 1, you still don't like Subaru. Like, how's that possible? You're not supposed to like him right away.
I mean, I can kind of see where he was coming from. If you dislike a specific type of person, he's the type who would very much grate on you. But season 2 rectifies that a lot when you see where he came from.
Yeah, like the whole point, it's not that like I mean he's special obviously as if he has this power to travel back, but what's really special about him is the whole point that like he doesn't really crack. Like he has moments, but the fact that you can die sometimes and go through all this stuff, but he keeps trying is like the whole good point about his character.
Yeah, he saw himself get cut in half, and he's like, well, fuck, I hope that
Yeah,
doesn't
and
happen
he
again.
realizes he's the only one who can do this, so he has to kind of thing. Which is like my favorite quote from him is actually inside this episode.
I think I know
which is towards the end. But like this episode was really good because you got a lot of plot and it was just a lot of setup, which I'm assuming then the next couple episodes have to be like really big.
Oh yeah, I mean there was a little bit of payoff early on with especially when you saw Garfield get guffed.
So yeah, do you think this is his episode where he succeeds from this restart
hell
point?
no.
You don't think so? Like you don't think that this
He
current
is
one
not going to succeed. There is, especially going off the opening. I don't know if you've watched it recently.
I have not. No.
With the sheer amount of times they gun him down in that opening, there is no way in hell he's not
Well,
going to die
there's
a lot more.
there's always this question when I'm watching. I'm like, okay, like one of these, like it's like when you see him develop some sort of relation with the character, and you're like, man, I hope he lives
Actually,
this one. I hope this one sticks. Is like you did this, and then he dies, and you're like, well, damn, that never happened. Now, where like a lot of them in this one, I'm like, I think that like I thought that maybe this one will stay. You know, I could be very wrong because they could just throw that. He's obviously going to a spot which
He might hit another reset point.
you're not supposed to believe he can succeed right now. The area he's going to the mansion, and he's going to get his questions answered by Beatrice, we assume, and then he's going to be facing frickin' the
butcher chick.
Yeah, what's her name though? She has a
I want to say she's called the Butcher.
no. There's a special thing she has, but I can't remember the name. But yeah, she's got her knives. She likes cutting people open. And I really like that they brought her back because you know she was obviously the very first.
She's what killed him originally.
She's the person that murdered him the very first time when he didn't know he was going to come back, and then she murdered him a few times since then. And then now she's back to murder him more, so I'm happy.
Yeah, and the fact that there's very much a buildup of like she was told to be there and kill everyone when he showed up.
Yeah, and then it's like who told her, who's doing this? I kind of assume at this point she's got to be a member, like the witch's cult or something. But
I want to say yes, but I almost feel like it might be like another royal selection candidate or something like that who just wants him out of the way because he's definitely made a name for himself.
it's true, and I mean the first time you met her, he just like stumbled on her, right? Like she wasn't there to find her or anything to that. So
Yeah, she was there to steal the selection token, wasn't she?
Yeah.
So he just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
yeah, and that obviously hints to the fact that she has something to do with all the selection, and the election, all that kind of stuff together. So this time might be the same. The only one I'm assuming crazy enough would be the I think she's pink haired. She's got like the Goblin Slayer looking knight guy.
Yeah,
as her
that's
sidekick.
who I was thinking too.
I'm assuming she's the only one insane enough to try and hire, unless it's just like it could just be some of the
Yeah, it could be Witch's Cult. It could be her, and
could just be some of the royals. Obviously, they're led. It's like a lot of the old white royals who are like pricks and that kind of stuff. Like it's one of those shows.
I mean, it's established that Amelia's not very well liked in these circles
because
so.
she's a half elf, and
Which
she
is-
resembles the witch.
Yeah, which we got to see. Like even Subaru kind of cracked a little bit when he saw that. Just like, okay, yeah, this is pretty.
Yeah, like when he goes to touch her and he's like having a hard time. He's like shaking so much.
It's like, well, fuck.
Yeah, I mean, even if it was the witch, she didn't really do much to him there. Just kind of
She literally
Wanted
consumed
to
his
love him.
consciousness.
wanted to love him. Hey, that helped him out in the end.
I mean, yes, and I mean,
It worked for him.
technically, him getting cut in half helped him in the long run. There's
But yeah, my big question there was since he entered and Amelia wasn't there, which led me to I thought he wasn't moving time while he was inside the witch's party. So you think he would have came back and Amelia still would have been there?
I mean, there was a little bit of time gap where he like knocked himself out. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a time gap there.
Yeah, and the question also leads to what happened differently that time that would have led this event.
I just thought of this, and I really hope I'm not right, but I almost wonder if Amelia saw him like on the ground bleeding, like from his head.
I mean, yeah, and like freaked out or something
Yeah,
like that.
walked out and became that.
Yeah, well,
she is tied to the witch.
There's a lot more. This season's obviously much more about Amelia than like how like last season had a lot of Rem, for instance.
Yeah, which
you
I,
know.
I am liking Amelia a lot more this season.
Listen, we'll get into a conversation about best girl, but
yeah, we know.
I'm a big Amelia fan, and last season was like a lot of Rem. You know, everybody loves Rem, but how could they not when the entire season was basically with Rem?
Yeah, it's like, look, she started killing you, now she loves you.
Yeah, and,
love her.
And this season's Amelia, and like obviously there's some really bad stuff because we know with like Subaru's trial when he went in, he had to like face his past in like a sense.
Yeah.
And then so which means she probably has something very similar and she can't do it. That's the whole point, is that she's like having difficulty. So there's got to be something really terrible in her past. Maybe at the end of the trial, normally what happens is Subaru wakes her up, kind of calms her down, and then they leave. But without him waking her up and calming her down, maybe she just cracks. Goes a little nuts. There's obviously this tie-in between her and the witch.
Yeah,
it's not just a coincidence that they look alike.
Yeah.
So like that's the big plot question. I don't think that's going to get deeply explained probably in this season, but
I don't know, because towards the end of the episode they discussed her basically doing human cloning.
That's true.
What if Amelia is like the success?
Yeah, because it was that Echidna was basically doing human cloning to put like her. I think Harry Potter in like a sense.
Yeah.
Where, you know, Voldemort's making Horcruxes for his soul.
Yeah.
She's trying to put souls inside these bodies to like live forever. You're basically thinking that like maybe the other witch did this as well, and Amelia was like the only one. And I mean
that is distinctly possible, and
because the plot is supposed to be that like it was a dragon, right? Like there was the dragon or something that sealed her. They mentioned this early on in season 1. It hasn't really been brought up many times.
I'm not gonna lie, it's been a long time for season 1 for me.
Yeah, like I'm trying to remember what happened to the witch. Like, what's the story that actually happened to the witch? Like, why she's dead, basically, or gone. And I feel like there was something to do with like a dragon and a seal.
Yeah, she was definitely sealed away, and it was after she killed the other witches.
Yes. Also, other witches are insane, as we saw in the episode before.
I feel like they're trying to make a waifu factory or something like that, because there's definitely there's some distinct selling points for some of these. Except for what was the one? Gluttony? That was the really fucked up one?
Well, I mean, people love really fucked up in anime. Yes, Gluttony was the one who was strapped to a thing. Yes.
Like, I think that's the one that's probably going to have the biggest issue.
I mean, that's going to be and to be fair, she's the one who's made the whale, you know?
Yeah, she made the whale,
had half of
the
for season 1,
and
the rabbits we've seen now, and then there's a black snake.
Yeah.
Which we haven't met.
How the hell are they going to up the ante with the snake? That's what I'm scared of.
Yeah, I like the rabbits in comparison with the whale, because it's not about like one size. I mean, I guess there was more than one whale, but it's not so much about a size thing as like sheer numbers, and you have to kill them all at once. I think the rabbit's going to be like the final thing in season 2.
That would definitely make sense.
Especially as she gets into how you can kill them and stuff like that. I just feel like this reset point's been so weird. Because like there's been so many events that happen where normally everything happens the same and he can learn from it, but half the time he wakes up now, there's something that didn't happen from the time before, and it was just led there by like crazy, you know, something different.
I mean, I think a big part of it's been Garfield, because every time he deals with him differently, he acts completely differently.
Yeah, and that's what I was curious about that too. I wrote that down in my notes because Garfield also like his character changes so much between every single time.
Yeah,
and that's why in this episode he's like, "There's something going on with you, Garfield."
Yeah, well, they established that he's another apostle, and it's like, does he return by death as well, or does he remember the past? Or
or he's got something different because I feel like in season 1 you're supposed to assume that Subaru is in a sense he's an apostle, but not of the Witch of Envy or not the Witch of Greed, of the Witch of Envy, because he has her power. Obviously, everyone can smell him on her and stuff like that. And then he only became an apostle of the Witch of Greed after he drank her tea, which was only a few episodes ago.
Yeah,
by consuming one of her body. So, however you like to do that in
that was
tea
an
form.
interesting pitch. It was
so he just recently became one, but I feel like in season 1 with now I can only think of the Monster Hunter monster. What was it, like Basil Geese or whatever?
Oh, Beetlejuice.
whatever.
Beetlejuice.
Yeah, that can't. Now I was just thinking of the Monster Hunter now, but he like implies in like a sense where he thinks like Subaru is like one of them basically.
Yeah.
And Subaru can even kind of get away with pretending to be one when he has the book and everything. But now instead he's an apostle of the Witch of Greed. Which is like, it's a twist. You're like, okay, like that's cool. Like, that's, I don't know what that does for him. Like, but that's cool. But then you find out Garfield is also one. So you're like, Garfield also went to this tea party at some point. He consumed, like, what does this mean? He implied that he tried to do the trial before.
There's a lot that's unexplained, and I think until we actually get some more detail, it's going to be very hard to guess.
I was also there was like a confusing part too where they were talking. Obviously Subaru decides he has to fix the mansion issue first. That's the big concern. So he tries to leave. Garfield stops him. That's where you get this confrontation.
Right.
And like there's a couple weird things going on in like the confrontation that even I didn't really understand. Where he's like talking to him, he's smiling, and then Garfield kind of freaks out for a second, and like the whole thing was kind of strange.
I almost wonder if it was almost like Subaru was starting to snap.
It almost looked like there was a moment where it's like Subaru said something, but we as the audience couldn't hear it because he like it zoomed into his mouth and he like moved it, and then it showed in Garfield's facial expression. He made like a weird facial expression, and then he started panicking.
Yeah.
So I was like, did he say something we couldn't hear?
Yeah, like did he call him out as an apostle? Did he say something else? Or...
But yeah, Garfield's one of the weird characters because every single time he's different.
Yeah.
Like the one time, and like the whole I think the point that's implied is, like the time where Amelia came out and she was freaking out, Garfield knew that she couldn't do it. So when he found out Subaru could do it, he wanted Subaru to do it. And then Subaru comes back, and without Garfield getting that much time to watch Amelia freak out, he offers to do it. Then Garfield thinks that's suspicious and then locks them up. And
I mean, he's all over the place, and especially the part where he starts slaughtering people, and it's like, okay, he's established as a natural threat in of himself. Yeah. And then the witch takes him down without...
in like a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot with him, and I just feel like that I liked the confrontation a lot between the like two of them when they're talking, because it felt like there was so much that I didn't understand, but not in like a bad way. Yeah. Not like the show was explaining to me bad. It was like I wasn't supposed to understand it.
Yeah. Something that comes to light later.
Yeah, because even then, like, we know he's an apostle of greed. That isn't his secret then. And because Subaru knows this, and he implies he's like, there's something that like you're hiding. He's like, and I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
But then that's also where my favorite quote comes in, where he's like, oh, you don't understand. Like, and he's like, I've seen hell.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I've seen hell.
I'm the only one who has to experience
he's like, I'm the only one who has to do it. And I'm like, yeah. And like, Garfield there, the whole point is he can see in his like facial expression, like in his eyes, that he's not messing around. He's not lying, that he actually has. And it was a cool moment because I like Subaru.
It was definitely a nice character building moment. And seeing Subaru actually like step up and drop the facade and very much say, I'm going to fix this. I don't give a shit if you know or not. I've dealt with this before, and just going. It was a nice change from him. Like, how he's always had that bravado that's almost
he like puts on a charade a lot of the times.
Yeah.
And then there's always that point where he cracks at some point and kind of like he can't do it anymore. So then he super falls apart, and then he kind of has to reestablish himself, and then he finds a little bit more in himself to actually not just have the bravado. It's like real this time. Like he has the real confidence in a way.
This is the first time I felt like it was actually him feeling he can do it, like almost sealing himself to die to do it.
And that's why, like, I was wondering if that's how the reason I think it's not going to reset this time, like this is going to be a success, is because this time he's going in with like, I'm going to die, but I'm going to learn more stuff this time, which I feel like that's going to be the one where he actually doesn't die somehow. It's going to be like accidental luck, and he's not gonna. But I
mean, it would be nice, but they've also established that they don't care about collateral damage with his resets, so it only matters if he survives.
Yeah, well, they don't care. He cares very much.
He cares very much, but the actual reset process doesn't care. And the way it's all set up, like he gave Amelia the letter, and he did all these things that are very much, I feel, a death flag. And I don't think they're going to let those go uncashed.
But that's my question. It's always the thing. It's like when they show that many death flags, it's either that he's going to die, or they're trying to be like trick you, and they're going to do like a reverse, like we show these death flags, but he's not going to die this time because he dies all the time.
I mean, if he does survive, somebody else is going to die or get put in the same state as Rem.
It's going to be Otto. I'm calling it.
They've been building him up a lot, so that is possible.
They do definitely. A character is going to have to die that he doesn't fix, like that doesn't come back, right?
Yeah.
Like that's going to have to happen soon.
Like we're either going to lose Rem permanently. I feel like Petra is on the cutting block because they've been really trying to build up.
Yeah, I could definitely. Petra could die, and if you couldn't fix that, that would haunt him a lot.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Maybe like Ram, for instance, if they just say fuck it and like we'll keep Rem alive, because they're going to bring Rem back eventually. I don't think they'll kill her, but like Ram, or it could even be, like Frederica or Garfield or Ryuzu, like the pink hair girl's a clone. She could, because he can now control them.
I mean, yeah.
I don't know why he didn't ask. I guess they can't leave the sanctuary.
Yeah, they can't leave.
Darn.
I feel like he doesn't want to cash those chips until he knows what he's doing.
That's fair. Because how many clones are there? Can he fight an army of clone bunnies with an army of
they showed like
little
6
girls?
Like when Garfield called them.
Yeah, and he's using self-destruct on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was a really good episode, though. Obviously, I
Was.
like all the episodes of ReZero, but it was like a really good mix between you were learning stuff, but you also had more questions at the end than you started with, even though
Yeah.
you learned stuff, but you didn't feel like you learned anything, which just leaves the next episode and the ones after that even more. And obviously, the big ending is just like the talk with Beatrice. And that's where I felt like when he was having the conversation with Beatrice at the end, it was different than the last time when you walked in.
It felt like she knew what happened last time.
Yeah, it's like it almost seemed like she knows, and then she obviously has like the book, which apparently like predicts the future of like that, has everything that's going to happen like written down in it, which means then if you know that, you then know that he would come back. So
Yeah, but she also talked about the end of her contract, which makes me think: is she going to come out and actually do something?
she's either going to do something or she's going to die.
Yeah. Oh God, she might be the death that doesn't get reset.
Maybe I'd be fine with that. I'm not one of those guys who thinks that she's best girl.
I mean, I like the character, but
Yeah, I mean the thing is like it's she's a hard character to be too investing because we
Yeah.
don't know anything yet. But like a lot of this right now is we're gonna learn tons about her and her whole story because she's the classic 1,000-year-old dragon. She's not a little girl, right? So I'm excited for next
Yeah.
week. That'll obviously have a lot. So next week will probably be a big conversation on it too. Plus we're gonna have to see him fight the girl in the mansion. What his plan for that is. And
yeah. The big question is he even going to fight her?
I mean, unless like Beatrice fights her, which is the only other thing I can see.
I mean,
But-
part of the reason I think he might actually reset is he might just let himself die now that he's got the information.
Yeah, I mean that's always a good like, and he has the ability, but it wouldn't really work that well if like Beatrice also, if it turns out that Beatrice also like knows about it, that kind of stuff, and she knows no matter what, then that wouldn't really have any point. But like a lot of times you think about it with his power, as much as he doesn't want to die that many times.
Yeah, I
Because,
mean, he
you
was
know-
told it was unlimited.
Yeah, it's unlimited, which is
And
nice.
If
But
he
like,
went just on a fact-finding mission, going there, dying without triggering the mansion slaughter event might be the best possible outcome for him.
yeah, that's the thing though. It's like if you'd think that if he was just going there to learn and then die, he wouldn't have cared so much about like moving people away though.
The thing is, does he want to see them die again?
I mean, why not? He could, but then he could
You,
go
you
and
and I are very different
he
people.
could go and get his information from Beatrice and kill himself right there. Pull off his stabby secret bracelet, which I also had questions about that.
I don't think that's going to happen again. I think that was a one and done thing.
Yeah, there's so many. As I said, the episode left me with more questions than answers,
Yeah.
which I guess is a good thing because now I really want next week. But
Yeah.
that's a whole week away.
This is a very minor point, but I do want to bring up when he was talking to Petra about it. And he's like, "It saved my life." Well, no, it didn't.
He's like, yeah. He's like, well, I guess it didn't. He's like, but like it helped.
Yeah, it was that important. Like, it's kind of hard to tell a little girl. It's like, yeah, I stabbed myself with your handkerchief.
Yeah, I
It's like,
turned your handkerchief into a knife and killed myself with it. She'd be like, okay. But yeah, I don't know. I'm excited though. Obviously,
Yeah.
we'll have a lot to talk about next week. And then the final episode on this week's list is Deca-Dence.
Which this has been a bit of a roller coaster just as a series, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think we have to first start by just talking about Deca-Dence in general.
Yeah.
Deca-Dence starts off like a lot of anime starts off.
Yeah.
One of the first ones I think about, there was an anime I watched a long time ago called Chrome Shelled Regios, I think was the name.
Okay.
Or something close to that. It was back in my like anime freak days where I just clicked on anime and watched it, and it's happened a lot of times. Something almost like Attack on Titan. That one they live in domes that are like on beetles,
Right.
And because the world's too dangerous and they like move around and it's like a school and they train and that kind
Right.
of stuff. Which it started like that. It started like a lot of anime. It's like a post-apocalyptic world where it's not safe to go outside. There's monsters, so they have to live in this place. The main character has a dream. It's hard for her to get done. But
Yeah.
she's gonna come in here and
Yeah, you learn to fight, you grow, you eventually fix the world in theory.
yeah, exactly. And you're like, okay, you're like, you see like, do you even see a fight in the first episode?
Decadence.
I think at the end of the first episode,
Yeah,
he has to come out to save her because she falls.
Yeah, they established the fights and how it works and like the anti-gravity stuff and all
Yeah,
that.
so you're like, okay, that looks good. You're like, this is like an Attack on Titan style of fighting. They're like flying around shooting things.
Yeah, I do want to bring this up. The studio that did it was not a studio I would ever have expected to do it. They've done like 3 shows, including this.
What are the other two?
You're not going to believe me when I say it. The first one was FLCL.
That I could buy a little bit, not from like quality, but like the design.
Yeah. The second one was Tanya and the Saga of Evil.
Yeah, that doesn't
Studio
seem like
Nut. They've
that
done
doesn't-
2 TV
Studio
series.
Nut.
I know. I was
That
laughing
doesn't
when I saw it.
seem.
It's-
The Tanya one seems very different. I could see the FLCL from like the character design
Yeah.
and like the way they use colors and
I
stuff
mean,
like
the
that.
weird thing is like the actual facial structure they use is very similar to Tanya.
I've never actually watched Tanya that like detailed.
I
Like
don't
I
know.
haven't watched. I haven't really like. I've seen I think the first episode when it came out, but I wasn't that interested. But I've seen a lot of
Yeah, it's understandable.
memes and artwork and figures and stuff like that from it. But yeah, I wouldn't have actually guessed those came from the same thing at all. So
Yeah, so I just want to say, like, seeing this from a studio that you don't really see much from is kind of cool.
when I first heard like what it was, I assumed it was going to be a Studio Trigger thing.
Yeah, I know. That's what the
It
moment I
very
saw the
much
design.
sounds like a Studio
Like,
Trigger,
especially with like the freaking harpoon guns, the glowing
Yeah.
orbs, and like the giant robot that punches things. Everything about that is Trigger.
Yeah, the only thing that gave it away is there wasn't enough fancy hair colors.
I mean, you're right.
At least in the main characters, they're blonde and brown hair. Studio Trigger has to have like a red or a vibrant purple or
yeah, I
something.
mean, the main character is kind of a ginger, but that's it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. But then, yeah, so a very standard first episode of anime. You're like, okay, like the fights could end up being good in this. I like the character. She's the classic driven character.
Yeah.
She's got a weakness, but that won't get her down. That could become her strength.
Yeah.
And then episode 2 starts.
Oh yeah, the moment where you think you tuned into the wrong show.
Yeah, and the thing is, I remember the reason I decided to start watching Deca-Dence, I saw someone, I was like the first 5 minutes of like a video. I think it was by Mother's Basement. If you've seen that YouTuber at all.
I think I know
It
what you're
was just
talking
like
about.
it was like a why you should watch Deca-Dence video, and then it like started off, and I'm pretty sure he was like, hey, if you think you're gonna watch Deca-Dence, he's like, you should just watch it. And then I read a comment too. It was just like, yeah, like I wouldn't even recommend watching this. They're like, nothing against his video or anything like that. They're like, if you want to watch Deca-Dence, I just recommend going into it blind. And I was like, yeah, screw it, whatever. I was like, I have Funimation, I'll go into it blind. Episode 1, I was like, yeah, I don't know what people are talking about. Like, yeah, it's good, but like it's not like blowing my mind kind of thing.
Nothing weird, nothing out of place.
And then episode 2. So I'm just going to get into what the plot's about. So it's still technically post-apocalyptic.
It's very post-apocalyptic.
Because it was still a world where humans lived and that kind of stuff.
like everything is still very, very much fucked for humanity.
Yeah, but the main people on the Earth are little robot people, and their life is pretty sedentary life. They just kind of lounge around, that kind of stuff. They need like
It's almost I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's almost a Brave New World scenario where everyone just lives a happy life. Everything's about staying happy and doing what you're told.
and it seems too like most of the currency is for one thing, which is like the Oxyon stuff, whatever it's called, which is like their fuel.
I don't even know if it's currency.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that they get though, right? That's like the only thing that they have.
Yeah, it's like, okay, we get our Oxyon, we power up, and then we go do whatever the fuck we do to kill
so
time.
the plot is basically that these robot people are playing a game called Deca-Dence, where it's like a full dive system in a way, where they go into a body of an avatar and then they go into the Earth and they fight these Gadol, these monsters that are created for them to fight. And
yeah, which the interesting point about this is that they're actually in the same world. They're not.
yeah,
going
one's
into, like, a
not a
virtual
virtual reality. It's just like it's in the world. They just don't interact with humans.
Yeah, they're getting unplugged from their bodies and going into these.
Yeah, it's like an avatar kind of thing. Yeah, like more like that. Which is just so different. I don't think I've seen one that's been done. There's obviously a lot of things in between or something close.
I mean, you just brought up a perfect example. Avatar is very much the same system, just used for very different purposes.
Yeah, the humans don't know these little robot people exist.
To the point where if they find out about them, they are terminated.
Yes, which
that
we've learned more about that in this episode actually. But yeah, so it was just such a huge twist. So like you've met one of the characters. The main character arguably is still just the human girl that you know in the first one. But her like mentor guy who was also in the first one, he is just a little robot guy. And he goes inside his avatar, and he was once one of the best. He was one of the S rankers.
Yep.
And it's really just they go down to the Earth planet and they fight these Gadol monsters for like points, and they just get ranked off it. And I'm pretty sure you can use the points to buy like the Oxyon stuff.
Yeah, I think you get like higher quality stuff the better you are and the higher ranked you are, and it also buys you more time alive basically.
Yeah, and all it was is his start of his story is they have limiters built into their avatar, so they they can't be too broken.
Yeah.
And then one of the guys on their team asked about turning off his limiter. And then he did turn off his limiter at a time, and then anybody who was in that conversation, they were declared as like bugs.
Correct.
And then the game masters, the GMs, if you will, they then got all these people they either sent them to like a little robot jail, or they got them to work for them, and then the main character Kaburagi decided to work for them.
Correct.
To eliminate bugs.
Something worth noting is that he's the only one of all the ones that were sent that were involved in this incident that chose that. Everyone else was very much like, screw you.
Yeah, and it's also worth a note that they all didn't even want to have the conversation with the guy, but he was actually the one who told the guy how to take off his limiter. So
yeah, which even then, like the big thing with the limiter was it was established If you take it off, you actually take damage to your programming,
Yes.
which is the big reason for it.
You know, if they're in their avatar and they get hit by, you know, a monster or anything like that, they don't actually feel it in real life.
Yeah.
But if you turn your limiter off, it makes you way stronger, but you do.
Yeah.
So if you get like, you know, if you get hit in that your avatar, you feel the pain as like your little robot guy, which is obviously a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
And like the show from there, you're just like, wow, like this whole dynamic of this show just changed. And I feel like the episode today changes everything again. It's like the biggest change since episode 2.
Yeah, definitely, because they've basically restructured the entire world, and then there's a big drop at the end of the episode, which is like they changed it back, but worse.
Yeah, it's basically, you know, if you're watching this, you've obviously seen the show, so this is more of just discussion about this episode than they talk the entire thing. But they, like it, the whole thing is it's secret. The humans don't know about these robot people. They don't know about the avatars. It's kept that way on purpose. And if any human does find out, they're declared as bugs by the GMs, and then they're eliminated. You know, they're killed. And you find out in this episode that the main character's dad, basically they were onto it. They found one of the robot people. They were onto the whole thing, and that's why they died. He didn't die to one of the monster attacks like you're led to believe.
Something I actually didn't realize, I forgot about until I saw this episode. They show you one of the android bodies at the very first episode.
Yeah, but you would just not notice it, right?
Yeah,
you're thinking more about like the symbol he's carrying, like you're focusing on what it could be.
Well, it's not even that. Like when you first see it, it's like, okay, this was a normal city before. This is obviously some sort of like AI tech or it's like some sort of assistant. And then later on, you're like, oh shit.
You're like, oh yeah. I'm also a little like, because they've never shown before like Kabu knowing about her dad or anything like that. So this information kind of came out of nowhere, which also makes me question who was sent to eliminate her dad.
See, I have to ask about that because I don't know if he was working for them at that point.
I wouldn't know either, but like it seems like he probably would have been if he knows about it already.
Yeah. I mean, the time frame is very weird with him because they establish he has like 150 years until he's terminated.
Yeah.
So we don't know how long he's been around.
But I also feel like right now in the plot, he's giving away all the truth. So I don't think he would have kept it. I feel like if he was and he's telling her about her dad, he would have told her at that point.
I mean, at the same point, he's very close to her. He wants to be, like, he wants to be with her almost. And it's very
hopefully
much,
not in a weird way.
Yeah. No. I worded that very poorly.
More like a father-daughter situation than a daughter-daddy situation.
Well, I mean, I feel like it reminds him of the guy who got terminated because of him.
Yeah.
So he's almost like trying to redeem himself through her.
Yeah, and it's also the whole point is like it's questioning the system, you know, like a lot of plots. It's like just because the system declares these people as bugs, it doesn't mean they're just people living their life and stuff like that. So he learns to question it. That's the whole point, is that he becomes a bug himself when he starts questioning whether or not all these bugs should be terminated, which leads to most of the plot that's happened in the past 3 episodes or so.
Yeah, like he meets up with the administrator at one point. And he says, what do you do with a bug? And he says the world needs bugs to live. And
yeah, it was like they alluded to that a few times, being like, oh, like what's, and he's like, oh, all bugs must be like terminated, whatever he always has to say. And then finally you get like he comes and asks him again, and he's like the world needs bugs, and that's where he gets like zapped and
sent back down to.
Yeah.
So I'm honestly surprised they didn't just destroy his avatar instead of letting the one guy have it, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm assuming that guy did some sketchy shit to get it.
I mean, that guy did a lot of sketchy shit.
Then you get to your really weird, like, 3-episode prison arc with the little robots and, like, the poop and, like...
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is all Gatto shit, which is... Then like, the one guy makes liquor out of it. It's like, wait, these robots can get drunk? Like,
it was just such a weird like arc, but it's not like I didn't fit in, but you kind of leave the whole like human girl for a little while. Like you see little clips of her, but like it all takes place as like the little robots in their little prison and like planning their jailbreak and their big plan.
Which, I mean, it makes sense because it was supposed to kind of establish that he was away from her for a while and she was wondering where he went because she didn't know anything about this at this point. So then having her kind of like read, like when he logs in and she meets him again, it's very much like, I can't stay with you. And he's like, I have no idea where I'm going with this, but it's...
I mean, it was good. And so anyway, see, the end of the prison arc is, by arc, I mean like 3 episodes, is that, the Gatto are obviously monsters that they create, so then they have like a termination system to destroy them all.
Just in case.
Yeah, so his plan is basically give the humans like 5 or so years without any of these Gatto because, they have to remake them all. So, he goes in there with the human girl, and he knows that like, if by going in here, you're going to a lab that creates this has a pretty good chance of, showing her that like everything is not what she thinks, that this world is different.
I think he went in fully prepared to tell her everything.
Yeah, all he asked her is he said like, don't ask me any questions. Like he's like, try not to question it while we're in here because it's not the time, right? Like you're in this high stress situation. It's like wait till we leave for all these kind of questions. And then obviously she freaks out, which is very realistic. She finds out that her life is basically a lie.
Yeah, you found out you're an NPC in a video game. That's literally what happens.
And like everything that you've dealt with, all these people you've seen dying, that kind of stuff, it's just fun for everyone else.
Yeah, literally, like you're kept alive as I want to say a sideshow almost.
Yeah, because I don't really. Why would they even let humans go out and fight them? Really, right? Like,
yeah, it was just like, oh yeah, you know what? If you want to die for it, go right ahead. Just don't get in the way of the people who are actually playing the game.
Yeah, so she finds out basically, the world is basically created, the monsters are created, all this kind of stuff. She has a little panic attack, passes out.
Yeah.
Kabu takes her out. They're driving home, and then she obviously, with this big revelation, she kind of loses her faith in him, loses her trust.
I mean, I feel she loses faith in everything at that point. Finding out everything you fought for, everything you've tried to succeed was all
it's
orchestrated.
definitely it's a warranted reaction. So he's like, and he's not that surprised. He's not like hurt that she feels that way. He's like, yeah, that makes sense.
That's perfectly fair, yeah.
Kind of thing. And he thinks he, at least even if like she hates him or whatever, and he kind of did what he had to, right? He did it, so now they're gonna have a few years where it's safe.
Yeah.
He still has this idea in his mind where like he's like, I'll still try in this time to take them at once and for all.
Yeah, I'm not sure how he actually plans to do that.
Yeah, we're gonna find out soon, I assume.
Yeah, because I mean, I feel like getting rid of the Gattle is definitely a good goal, but like even for human infrastructure, they were eating Gattle.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they were taking them apart.
That was a major food source, so now they don't have food.
Yeah. Maybe they'll have to just like manufacture it all or something like that.
I mean, yeah.
I don't know if they're gonna get too much into the economy of the Deca-Dence.
I know they're not, but it's one of those things I saw. I'm like, But there's some far-reaching implications for this for both sides.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can all agree the saddest part of the episode is when we find out old Pipe is gone.
I don't know if he is.
Do you think he just like moved, like he just like got out of his outfit and like and but this is like a.
Do you remember what happened with the other defect that they threw at the very end of the episode?
Yeah.
So I mean, if Pipe was another defect.
Yeah, I feel like, and that's why I was kind of curious about that too, especially because like Kaburagi didn't think of it, which is strange because like the thing is, the bug, just like how the bug human, like the main character, just like she doesn't have a chip in her, so they can't like find her, identify her.
Yeah.
The Gattle, I'm assuming, are pretty much the same thing. Thus, their termination system is probably based off like some sort of chip system,
yeah,
something
chip,
along
a
that
tracking
line.
system, something that kept their status.
Yeah, and thus, if you're the bug and you don't get destroyed, like I feel like it would be the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing with Pipe was that I feel like they would have realized if there was a Gattle living in the middle of the human settlement.
Yeah, you would think.
They probably would have tracked it down at some point.
I for a second thought that the thing inside the lab was going to be like the new Pipe. I'm like, oh, look at that cute little guy. Like he's going to be a nice little lad. I thought he was going to sneak out of the elevator, like find them, and then like they were going to take him with them, kind of thing.
I kind of like the part where you like stab the guy. Like,
yeah, and I was like, oh, this is something. And then there was like that alien moment where he comes out of the stomach,
and then he starts eating everything. It's like, okay,
and then you end the episode with him being a big boy.
Yeah, that's
which like to me is weird though, because like we've already seen many big Gattle and they just get like rocket punched in the face.
I mean, the big difference is I feel like they were designed to get rocket punched in the face. They were very slow and they were designed very much to lose.
Every single Gattle so far has been purposely designed in a way. This one is not, right? So this is like a big different.
I mean,
one.
The only exception would be the one that they fought that was released too early,
like in their event.
Yeah,
like
the big event
in their snow event.
Yeah,
fight on Snow Mountain.
The big boss fight that wasn't supposed to come out for like another 200 years because fuck it.
Yeah, because they're just like, hey, we need to gain a lot of interest right now. Let's just push out this event,
Yeah, then it's like we don't actually have the boss, so we'll make the fight unwinnable.
Yeah, so obviously now they succeeded in their plans to blow up the lab, so there should be no Gattle for like 5 years as they rebuild. But that's when you get this big boy comes in. And then so you're like, oh, that's one big concern at the very end. You're like, now there's this big Gattle. How are they going to take care of that? It's the only one left. The other thing is that Kabu's avatar gets just wrecked by the GM.
I wasn't sure if they were actually going to go down that road. I knew he was going to get fucked. I didn't think they were going to straight up rip his fucking heart out.
Yeah, and now the main character is also like in his grasp. So I'm like, how is that? Like he would just kill her right there. How is she going to escape that situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big Gattle is going to be the key to that.
Do you think it's going to like attack at the same time and she's going to escape or something like that?
Probably, yeah. Or something happens and he's like, I've got bigger concerns. I know where you live. Peace.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like that type of guy though.
I mean, I guess because he can kill her so quickly, it's like he's probably not going to do that.
Well, yeah, he could just go right to her, you know?
I mean, yeah, but like he caught Kaburagi off guard. Like that's the big thing.
Yeah, I mean that's true. Cabra, like obviously he couldn't really fight him. He basically like hacked, like he literally used his Game Shark to fight him the other time by Jill hacking like the system, and giving him like cheats basically. So he really can't fight him, which makes me question. You know, there's only so many outcomes for how this girl's gonna get out of the situation.
Unless Pipe is still there.
That's what I was thinking. Pipe like hops out, she like escapes,
or Pipe stings the guy, eats him, becomes a big boy himself. Then we just have a kaiju fight for the end of the series.
I mean, some people would like that. We know one guy who'd like that a lot.
We definitely do, and I honestly wouldn't put it past this show.
I do like the whole like. I hope they go farther into it. I like the little robots on like the Earth. You know, like they're little rebels.
Yeah,
they got their like base, and they're setting up their avatar. It once again reminds me a lot of Avatar. At the one point, they like run away. They find their own little like, secret camp, and then they're like logging him in from there to help and stuff like that. Very Avatar like, but I like it. You know, I like that little group.
It
with
is
Jill
nice.
and what's his name? It's not Dominic. It's something close though.
Oh man.
But you know, big purple mohawk guy.
I know. I can only think Dominic now, and
it's close to that, but it's not that. But yeah, I like that little group, and I'm excited. Obviously, now Kabu's avatar is destroyed. He's like panicking, trying to figure out how to log in just to help. I mean,
he still has that alternate avatar, so you can still use that.
I wonder if like when you turn off your limit, does that turn off your limit on your avatar? Would he have to turn off a limit on the new avatar too?
I mean, probably. I mean, I feel like he was using the same avatar though, because he was established to already been a fighter, but by the Jill.
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like he was using the same avatar, just got like put to a different area. So if that, I don't think it's a one done thing. I think it's something you turn on and off.
I like the rebel base though. I'm excited where that's going to go. And the very end is just the big ass Gattle just looking at the camera, doing a little screech.
Yeah, I feel like most of the rebels are probably going to get wrecked.
Probably, except for like they're all no name except for Jill. I mean, we're saying no name for this guy because we don't remember his name.
Mr. Mohawk.
Yes, and then Kabu. But that's gone. I'm excited for the next episode. Do you think it's going to be a 12 episode series, or do you think they're going to go farther?
Because they're busting at the kaiju at this point, it's going to be 12 episodes.
I would say so too.
Maybe 13.
Obviously, it's going to be like a 12 or 13 that is intended with another season. It's not like it's not a one season kind of thing. Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, there's no guarantee they'll get another season though. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, at this rate, they probably anime is really weird. It's so hard to judge whether or not something's going to get another season just based off how they're doing.
Yeah, because I mean, there are plenty of series that do pretty well and they don't get a season for another few years. Like look at No Game No Life.
Yeah, shit's always so complicated. You never really know these days, but at least based off audience reaction, people are liking the show, though.
Oh, yeah.
Which is good. I'm liking the show, too.
That's definitely a good watch.
Is the last couple episodes I've liked a lot. I think the next episode will be really good, and then I'm also betting it's going to be a 12 or a 13.
Yeah. I'm very excited to see where they go with it. I do want to know how they're going to wrap it up.
Yeah, that's like the biggest question is how do you finish this plot? Because just like you kind of mentioned with them eating the Gattle, like their life is run by these people, right? Like you can't just get rid of all the robot people because that's literally what controls the place they move on.
I mean, even getting rid of it, that's still technically genocide.
Yeah, and that's what you have to ask. Like, are they just going to somehow take over where just the GMs are gone and like they run it now instead?
Yeah, just
and, like
a different government where you're actually allowed to decide what you do.
Yeah, and then they just use the labs to make Gattle just to instantly farm.
I mean, that in itself is kind of fucked up if you think about it.
I mean, that's what we do as humans.
I mean, it is, yes, but we're not I guess we do bioengineer them technically.
Yeah, we do.
Wow, I just lost a lot of faith in humanity.
Yeah,
God damn.
Yeah, humanity sucks. That was the whole point of this episode. That's the point of every episode of anime ever.
I mean, that kind of sums up Decadence as a whole.
That's true. I mean, humanity doesn't suck in that though.
I mean, even that, like a lot of them are like, listen, we're dealing with our own shit. Fuck off.
Yeah, that's true. What is the main character's name? That's what's been failing me the entire episode. I mean, for the most part, I would say that they're equally as main characters for Kabu and her, but
yeah, I want to say Jill, but I know that's a blonde chick.
Yeah, no, what is her name?
Oh man,
they don't say it as much. I swear to God,
they don't because you're always dealing with Kaburagi.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I remember his name, no problem, but I can't remember the main character.
And he doesn't refer to her by name.
No, he does not.
Like he's always calling her Bug or saying just hey or something like that.
Girl or something, you know, maybe he's like the Kratos of this show.
Oh, God.
But yeah, I mean, I'm excited for next week's episode. I'm trying to think of if there's any more questions I had from this specific anime. I feel like I wrote something else down, but I don't remember what it was. I mean, no, all I wrote was Big Boy next episode.
Yeah.
And I
boy
said,
next
don't
up.
know how the main character is going to get out of this one. That was my question when I finished it. I was like, how? I was like, how can, obviously she's not going to die. I was like, so like the options here are basically the big thing attacks at the exact time that gives her an opportunity to escape. She fights the guy, but like realistically, we can't see that ending.
I mean, the alternative would be because he just logged Kaburagi out technically. He knows he's not dead. If he wants to try and use her as a hostage, maybe?
Yeah, that's true. Because like the whole point at the end is that Kaburogi's trying to get to log in as fast as possible. Yeah. But he like can't use that avatar. But he has the other avatar he's used once. They're like
Yeah, he still has that account, and I mean, it is possible he's just going to use her as a hostage. Say, Kaburagi, come out with your bunch of bugs, or I'm going to guff her. And,
that's true. And Kaburagi would probably fall for that.
I mean,
he's kind of a sucker.
I mean, he definitely would fall for that because I mean, he's not going to leave her.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see. That's the 5 anime for this week.
Yep.
The only one I think about immediately next week we're gonna have extra is Uzaki-chan.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna do my best to catch up on Millionaire Detective as well.
That should be pretty easy. I think they're not even. I don't think they're 10 episodes yet.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely gonna be caught up, and then there's Rent a Girlfriend.
Yes, and then Rent a Girlfriend I'm also excited to talk about because that's like my trash season of the year. That's like the bad anime.
You know what? I'm hoping that the next episode's gonna have a character I'm actually waiting for in that show.
Judging off where the last episode was, it probably was. It's not like in the middle of like any specific story going on right now, so they could definitely introduce a new character.
I actually do have a question. Do you think that show is going to be a 13 episode or a 24 episode?
24, if I had to guess.
Yeah, because they're just dropping a character that's in the opening now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the other character, like they haven't solved the issue with the third girl. Show's got 4 girls. They haven't solved the third girl issue yet. So
I'm going to just straight up tell you. From what I remember, they don't ever actually fix that problem.
They're just like, well, let's just keep it going.
They just kind of live with it.
Yeah, I don't, we've discussed this a couple times, which is that we both like the whole college thing. Obviously, we're older. We're both into our late 20s. And like, I love all the high school anime stuff, but one of them we discussed, like Golden Time, for instance, is like a slice of life based off like a college setting. And I like it. But to be fair, the main character of that was a lot more likable than the main character in Rent a Girlfriend.
I mean, it's also a very different dynamic. Like, he's very sympathetic. He's very driven. And he actually has a relationship.
Yeah.
So there's actual development. It's not
the main character in this is just a simp.
Well, yeah, he's the definition of a simp before the term simp even came out, because he's just like, oh, here's some money. Spend some time with me.
Yeah, I mean, it's also just weird. Like, they've shown probably like 4 different scenes in this anime already where he's just like finished masturbating. And they're just like, yeah, there you go.
Okay, on that note, have you watched the ending?
No, I have not.
Watch the ending, because it's literally him shaking a can for a minute as a metaphor for that.
Oh, great. Yeah, as I said, I've been watching that one with my girlfriend, and she also, I think it was like last episode, she's like, nothing's really happening in the show. Like, I feel like she expected more to happen. The beginning had some spicy episodes.
It did, and I think
like I think like episode 3 or something was like the beach episode, or like they got into it fast, and there was already some drama.
I feel like they dialed up the pace for that, and now they're kind of scaling it back.
Well, it's weird. Normally, you'd have like the cute kind of other girls come in with like these fun little relationships where they're jealous of each other early on, and then you wouldn't get into like the spicy like ex-girlfriend, current girlfriend thing where she's trying to seal him back just for fun till like the later parts. But that was like episode 2.
Well, I mean, that's all mommy has to offer.
That's her whole thing.
I feel really bad that I remember the characters from this, and I don't remember the characters from other shows we were talking about.
But I accept that we can't remember the names of the characters from God of High School as much because they are Korean names.
We were able to name them though.
Yeah, we were. Which ones we were really bad at? Some of the like Fire Force.
Like Ogun.
Yeah, our good bud Ogun. We never forgot his name.
We just basically just picked the sound and went with it,
and we were close.
We actually.
I'll give us that. But yeah, that's all the anime for this week. Normally, as I said, we'll start by discussing the weekly anime, and then we're gonna get into one big topic. We've already pre-planned some topics. There's some big ones like like best girls from certain series. People always like stuff like that. And then
they are subject to change as time goes on. Any recommendations or requests? Or
we have a few that are basically guaranteed to be done because they just have to be discussed. But then there's always some other ones that we're gonna need.
Yeah, there's a few that are definitely excited to see, and it's going to be interesting to actually have that conversation at some point.
Yeah, exactly. We're both probably thinking of the exact same topic that is a topic that everybody needs to know about.
The one you wanted to do for episode 1 when we first discussed this? And then
yes, and then we're like, no, that's too early for episode 1. It's too spicy. We'll have to get into that later.
Might be appropriate for when Rent a Girlfriend's caught up for me as well, based on what it's going with.
Probably, yeah. And we also do have a lot of friends who watch anime too. And these are kind of discussions we have, like, anyways in real life. So we're hoping some of them want to come on to discuss maybe certain series that they really like.
Yeah.
I think that the main reason the two of us are doing this is because we are definitely the guys in our friend group who are the most on top of like current ongoing anime.
Yeah, they kind of ask us opinions on it.
Yeah, or they kind of hop in like the one season they'll watch a lot of anime, but then they'll go like 3 months or 5 months without like watching any, and then they'll kind of catch up later. We're like the guys who are like, oh, every single night. It's like I have anime time at the end of every single night.
Yeah.
It's like I do my daily stuff, and it's like, oh, it's anime time because I have these episodes tonight.
Yeah, or I tend to be like, it's my day off. It's like this portion of my day is going to be dedicated to anime.
Yeah,
do not bother me.
Yeah, exactly. Which that's typically why we're doing this, is because we watch a lot of the ongoing stuff, and we had this idea of just, hey, we want to chat about stuff as it comes out, because like right now, obviously nothing crazy. I'd say the two biggest things to me this week were Deca-Dence and ReZero. Both. Yeah,
I mean, Fire Force definitely had a good week.
Fire Force did too. It was more information. I like when they give a lot of information in an episode. Yeah. But then, as I said, like when you're thinking things like Attack on Titan, for instance, Attack on Titan is closer to like our kind of like North American shows where like every single episode
they have to have something.
Is going to be huge. It's the final season. We just got like a time skip at the end of the last season, and every single episode is going to be such a big discussion that I'm really excited for series like that.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's going to be times, too, where there's less stuff going on in the series, where maybe we're only watching 3 current ongoing stuff in the series. But that's why we have those other discussions, too. So even if it's a week where we only have 3 shows to talk about, maybe they'll be really good shows and they'll take as much time. Maybe not, and then we'll just have a longer discussion about something else, anime or manga or basically anything in that field.
Definitely.
Yeah, but I guess other than that, for now, that's all we have. I don't know the length of these episodes. It really, once again, depends on how much anime we have to watch and how much we have to talk about. Yeah. Other than that, guys, we do have an Instagram account. It's literally just Weeb Seen It. We're going to try and put out basically pictures of like our lovely figures and just release times and stuff like that. Like neither of us are Instagram masters or anything like that.
Yeah, maybe a few updates as time goes on or things we're excited about.
Yeah, exactly. Just different stuff like, like if a new anime gets announced, we might have like a picture of that with some comments on it or anything like that. Plus, it's another good place where people can leave us comments if they want to see something specific get talked about, which is good. And then all of our podcasts are just going to be coming out on this YouTube channel. I don't think we're going to do an audio only. We're probably just going to have the video ones. It's easy just to keep it all in one place. And then YouTube's the best for getting feedback.
Yeah, definitely.
You can listen to a podcast on Spotify, which is like really cool, but you can't like leave your opinions there. Plus, a lot of people like the video aspect, and I like the video aspect too.
It's definitely a little more engaging. I think it's
it adds more. Plus, you get to see us. Which people like to do. Feels a little bit more personable.
It does. It feels like you're actually having a conversation. So
yeah, and that's the whole point. It's basically like the two of us are here chatting to you, who's sitting right there, about all of our favorite anime stuff.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's everything for this week, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Tune in next week. As I said, leave any comments and the suggestions down, and we'll just check them out, and we'll let you know. Once again, guys, I've been Cam.
I'm Jimmy.
And peace, guys. Take it easy.
Peace.